And what is going on, you absolute savages? Welcome into the third episode of Fully Unscripted. As always, I'm Cash Daniel, Todd Lanner. We got Zach and Parker over. I don't know, we got to call your guys' corner something corner. We can think about that.
We do need to think about that.
Yeah.
We'll come up with something.
We'll come up with something, I guess. But anyways, we got a lot to talk about today. We'll talk about the concussion protocol being changed with the NFLPA going into week 5. We also got some NFL news. We also have some college football news in the second segment right after an interview with former teammate of mine, 17th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, starting linebacker for the Washington football team. I still want to call them the football team. I mean, that's one of the most badass names of all time.
The Commanders.
The Commanders. None other than the man himself, Jamin Davis. Can't thank him for stopping in with us and talking up. And then, we'll wrap it up talking about Kentucky and Ole Miss and how painful that was to watch. And then we'll also preview tomorrow's game against South Carolina. So, this podcast shall begin right now. What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Go ahead.
Todd, how are you doing?
I'm good, man.
How's the renovations coming on the house? I was over there last night.
See, I said I was good, and then you just got to hit me with that. So I appreciate you coming over.
Yeah, dude, no problem.
Cash came over, helped me out yesterday, moving some furniture around to get ready for them to cut into the ceiling to rewire the electrical and the plumbing, which is going to be interesting. They're doing that right now, so I'm sure my phone's going to start ringing.
Did all the shit that we moved out of the way? We're good to go? Did you have to remove anything?
We're good. Nope, we're good. And our back half is looking pretty crisp, we'll say.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and give you like a little snippet of what we're talking about. So Todd has a garage over at his house that half of it was like, I guess you can call it like storage.
Yeah, probably.
Storage. Yeah. And on the other half, he had a big ass couch. He's got a nice bourbon barrel desk in the corner. He's also got a projector screen coming down with some LED lights behind us. Kind of pretty cool. So what we're actually going to do, as soon as we can get started on it, we're actually going to be doing live game hosting for guys to come in and people to chat with us, bring in some former players, some different people that maybe know football more than we do, and discuss it and throughout the UK games and, get our insights, different things like that. Obviously, we cannot show the game since we don't have the licensing rights or the money to buy the licensing rights for that. So,
but other than that, it's going to be pretty
fucking
Peyton
cool.
Show.
It is basically kind of. I mean, I'd say those dudes probably know a little bit more football.
A tad.
Just a tad more
especially
football
more than you.
Now, those guys do. Did you see them last night? I think one of the coolest things in that Monday night game when they were talking about Peyton had on the call card.
I didn't see that.
He had the call card on, and he had Eli tell him a play, and he flipped it over and was like, Z-slot, X-curl, gave off that big-ass play the NFL quarterbacks have to remember. I don't know how in the hell they remember all that, to be quite honest with you. Like, when we were there, like, when I played football, like, the quarterback had to know, and I know I talk about, my glory days a lot, guys. I know I'm a total douchebag, but this is going back to high school football.
You played every game with a concussion.
We'll get into that.
These guys didn't.
We'll get into that.
These guys didn't. These guys.
We will get into that.
We're some of the best quarterbacks of all time.
So, like, when I played quarterback in high school, yes, surprisingly, I did play quarterback in high school. I couldn't throw it worth a shit, but
I would be willing to bet that a significant, portion of collegiate Division I football players have doubled as a quarterback.
Listen, in Eastern Kentucky, the best athlete plays quarterback. It's just how it goes.
Appreciate it, dog.
It's how it goes.
But so we had our play call, and our offensive coordinator at the time, shout out to him, probably one of the more advanced minds in Eastern Kentucky high school football at that time. We ran the spread. Most people ran, wing tee, they ran, power eye, they ran, whatever, but none of them really ran the true spread. So I would be sent out with a play call, and it would be just RPO schemes the whole time. Like, I would have options. And so my card would read the actual play, and I had to know everybody else's responsibilities. And then the offensive line would look at their card. It would literally tell them, what block they had. If it was one play, it would say, block zone left. It's like, okay, pretty simple enough. That's awesome. And then a receiver would read it and said, okay, you got a curl, or you got, blocking on a screen, or go route, whatever the case may be. And so I really don't know how those NFL quarterbacks can have the greatest memory of remembering those long-ass plays, because it's not like they're just out there, calling a play to where everybody knows exactly what they're doing in that particular name call. It's not anything short or anything like that. He literally has to, like call out what the X is running, what the Z is running, what the F's running, and then some kind of scheme behind it to where the offensive line knows what kind of protection that they have. And so I'm just sitting there when Peyton read that off, I was like, yeah, that boy's back in his element. But speaking of that Monday night game, let's go ahead and get down into it real quick, dude. I would say probably one of the more dominating performances on a defensive perspective that I have ever seen. The 49ers absolutely dominated the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. And I believe that Shanahan and Jimmy G's record is now 7-0 or 9-0 against the Rams. I'm not really sure, but either way, they're undefeated.
No, they lost to him once last year in the playoffs.
Jimmy G didn't play that game.
Jimmy G didn't.
Yeah, Jimmy G is back. Oh, and potentially, so I know in the first episode we were talking about Jimmy G's contract, about he can potentially make up to $350,000.
Yeah,
we were wrong. We're wrong. It's actually potential of $500,000 in incentives per game on top of a $6.7 million contract.
Wait, hang on. It's a $7 million contract. And 6.5 guaranteed.
6.5
His agent got him a $7 million contract as a backup quarterback. $6.5 million guaranteed. 1 year.
That's ridiculous.
$6.5 million guaranteed as a backup, and $500,000 in bonuses per game when he plays 25 downs or more and wins.
I actually did a little bit of more digging into that. So I actually went on the internet and did like the California state income tax calculator, and I put in the zip code for their practice facility, which is in Santa Clara. And so obviously I took the $6.5 million guaranteed. Saw the taxes, like I'm talking about after taxes. So after taxes and all that stuff. Then I added, let's say for just example, he got the $500,000 game incentives every single game he's played in, which is, I believe, potentially to be 16 or 17. Was it week one that Trey Lance got hurt? So I put in 16. After taxes, if let's say that the $500,000 incentives happen every single game, this guy has a chance to take home after taxes $6.1 million this year.
That's ridiculous.
After taxes and after California taxes too.
And who knows what he's doing with tax write-offs and stuff.
And who knows what he's doing with different like NIL stuff.
I can tell you this: if his business acumen is represented in any way, tax-wise, in the same way that his ability to find an agent and handle his contracts on that side. That man might not be paying a cent in taxes.
Yeah,
he may not be.
Yeah.
He's definitely got the right. He's a rare example of somebody that's got the right group around him. He's done really well.
Another dominant performance. Let's go ahead and talk about the greatest tackle of the night, Bobby Wagner. Absolutely decleating this stupid ass protester.
What was he even protesting?
Who knows? And to be quite honest with you,
some website on his shirt.
And to be quite honest with you, who fucking cares?
I thought it was a baby reveal at first.
It was like protectus.com.
So did I.
Because it had the pink line running.
Yeah, it said something. His shirt said something.com, and I almost looked it up, and then I was like, that plays right into their hands because they're looking at how many hits they're getting from that.
Just clickbait, bro.
So I didn't do it. So I don't know what it is.
It was some marketing genius that was like, hey, we'll pay for you to go get banned.
But anyway, so that guy runs on the field. Runs all the way around security, comes down the Rams sideline, and then he sees one of the most menacing linebackers that has ever graced this game. Yeah. And Bobby Wagner lowers his shoulder and absolutely decleats. I hope he got credited for a tackle on that.
Did you see the security guard, though, before Bobby hit him?
His whole,
he tore his whole knee.
Oh, yeah, he blew it out after the 50-yard line. Gone.
His knee looks like what's his name's knee? Bad. Bro. Like, I'm not a doctor, but like
he fell, busted. And when he got back up, it was like a noodle.
It was he got back up and fell in the same way that Tua fell after his first concussion.
That's terrible.
He was like just crumpled like an origami freaking, what are they called, flamingo?
Yeah. Just see, Bobby Wagner, he didn't care to do that because, like you're talking about for Jimmy, about his agent, well, Bobby's his own agent, so he had nobody to answer to.
And here's the thing, that I went online, and obviously, everybody and their fucking brother has something to say on Twitter nowadays, especially, in this victimized personality trait that everybody's adopted as of recently, I guess. People are on there saying that, he should sue Bobby Wagner. He should, he's going to get sued. This and that. I'm like, first off, that is illegal to hop the fence and go onto a professional football game like that. They got released right after the game.
Oh, really?
They got released. They posted a picture of him, and I guess there was another person that was with him, but I don't think she got on the field. I think they caught her as like he attempted to get on, and they held up their reports, and it said officially released on it. Or something like that. So at the end of the day, it's California. You never know what the fuck's going to happen.
No,
but my thing is,
forgot it was out there.
Is that we've
They reward
seen
that
in
kind of stuff.
in recent things we've seen. I mean, hell, let's say for example, Dave Chappelle's show, the guy comes up on stage with a knife. We have no idea what these people have, on their persons now. Obviously, security at these NFL stadiums should probably, be increased or, have a little, better intellect of, who's coming in and out of the stadium.
But they're more concerned about if you're trying to bring an airplane shot in your coat pocket. Like
Well, I know, but exactly? But
I'm saying they're distracted by that kind of shit.
But then you
instead
got
of
a guy running out there with a smoke bomb. I mean, who knows what he has in his other pocket? I mean, he could have an actual other bomb in his pocket.
Who
The
knows if
world
that's
is literally
actually smoke.
Yeah, the world is literally getting crazier and crazier each and every day. So, for people to say that, Bobby Wagner should be sued, in my opinion, and this doesn't go, and I mean this in a perspective of, I'm not talking about real heroes. Obviously, our real heroes are the military, the police, EMTs, first responders. We appreciate every single one of you. But Bobby Wagner's a hero in that situation, in my opinion. Not in that same context I just described, but, what if there was something that, this guy was planning on doing further than having a stupid fucking smoke bomb out there to, take
Especially
us. But did you see Peyton Manning and them break down the tackle?
Oh yeah.
They wouldn't pan the camera over to him real quick because they thought it was an actual streaker. So Peyton Manning's sitting there going, you don't wrap up a streaker. You never want to wrap up a naked guy. You just want to lean in with the shoulder. And then they showed the replay of Bobby Wagner's absolutely fucking decleating that guy, and then they broke it down like it was a legit NFL tackle, which I hope they gave him credit for that tackle.
It needs to be on. I don't think they did that, but
They
it needs
should
to be
have.
on Sports Center top 10. But
I bet it was.
I'm still I'm telling you that security guard is in a hospital somewhere. Like he's getting surgery. He looks like
terrible.
when Kathy Bates hits James Caan's ankle in Misery with the cinder block in between, and that's what his knee looked like when he came up.
Bad.
You don't even know what I'm talking about. You don't even know who those people are, do you?
I don't even know what you're talking about, and I consider myself a movie
God
fucking
bless
nerd.
him. Am I that
Sounds
old?
gruesome. I'm good.
You are pretty
Neither
old.
you know what I'm talking about.
Who?
R.I.P.
You're the
James
oldest
Caan. by the
one
way.
in this room.
You don't know who James Caan is? James Caan's the dad, Will Ferrell's dad in Elf.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Sonny from The Godfather.
Yeah, he passed away like 2-3 months ago, something like that. Is that right, Brandon? How long ago was that? You know who that is.
Yeah, it was
You're a
like
film nerd,
2-3
too.
months ago, something like that. But speaking of linebackers, and Bobby Wagner being one of the more feared linebackers in the league, Fred Warner, dog. Absolute fucking dog. That dude was all over the field last night. And every game that guy's played, in at least the last 3 years, he is all over the field. One of the guys that I really look to see every single Sunday go out and make plays. It is so fun to watch him play. He's one of the more athletic. He's one of the biggest, strongest linebackers out there in the game today. He's flying around all over the fucking field like a maniac, breaking down on passing routes with running backs coming out of the backfield, covers them like a DB, can insert in the line with blitzing, has probably one of the more better open field tackling abilities in a linebacker that I've seen in a long fucking time. And so that dude, an absolute dog. Another dog on that 49ers defense, fucking Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa had 9 pressures last night. Now, obviously, the Rams were down a couple offensive linemen. You had one leave early in the first quarter, and they're trying to get Cooper. They're trying to get Cooper the ball out there on the flat a lot. But 9 pressures and 2 sacks against the defending Super Bowl champions. I mean, that's a pretty stout fucking performance, from a defense all around. And then the thing that capitalized it all. So I left Todd's. I mean, as I said, we were watching the game. And so I left around the start of the fourth quarter, didn't I?
Yeah, about 12 minutes.
So I leave around the start of the fourth quarter, and then I get a text halfway home, and it says pick 6, ball game. And I was like, okay, that's pretty fucking cool. So I get home and I watch the video, and the break,
Hell of a break.
and the read
It's perfect.
that Talanoa, try to pronounce his name right here, Talanoa Hufanga.
Where's he out of? USC?
Yeah, USC. I know this guy, but I'm terrible at pronouncing names.
Blind, dude.
If you've listened to any of the shows that I've ever done, including like last year when I did my,
You did it last week.
I did it last week
It was
too.
tough last week, yeah.
There was some name you did
Yeah, you
last
rattle
week.
off Game of Thrones names, Targaryen things you've never heard before. Like
Dude, I
that.
hear it all the time
Yeah.
from you or
Pronounce
like on
for us.
TV or whatever.
Okay, that's fair. I'll put my foot in my mouth on that
But
one.
then I'm telling you though, the screen that he read on that. So I looked online and saw a quote that he said. He said that screens are like a rat, or screens are like you could smell a rat. So it's like you know exactly what's coming if you read it correctly. And so seeing him in his back pedal and seeing that Kandus split between number 1 and number 2. His guy veers. He's seeing 2 different guys at once. He's obviously watching what Cooper's doing.
Yeah.
He's saying, okay, when he breaks off and his number 2 breaks off of the corner, you see him just stick at no point was his eyes in the backfield. No shot. He was looking at his number 2 and Cooper out at number 1. As soon as that guy broke across his face, you see him literally just stick his foot in the ground and have a burst of speed like I've never seen before. It was honestly beautiful to watch him jump that route and take it back. That was absolutely fucking beautiful.
Here's my question then for you as a defensive-minded person, right? So I'm going to draw from an example in the Super Bowl this past year. We saw Matthew Stafford throw that look away to Cooper Kupp, one of the coolest plays I've ever seen. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So, like, obviously Matthew Stafford has the skill set to throw the defense off. He knows what he's doing with his eyes. To my understanding, that's a vital part of being able to play that position.
Hey, you're supposed to look dudes off left and right.
Yeah, at that league, like, to be as good as he is at it is super impressive, right? The defense obviously the Niners know he's going after his number 1 target, right? But what allows him to be able to read that play so easily? Because, like, he knew the direction they were going before they snapped the ball, right? And he knew that Cooper was covered. So, process of elimination, he knew he could make a break on that more than likely.
Well,
but he was moving that direction before he threw it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went on to look at some of what he said after the game, and he was talking about how they were trying to get Cooper Kupp more of the ball out in the flats, more of those, dink and here and there throws, let him be an athlete and get upfield and make yards. So he knew that was coming at some point. Just kind of like how we'll break down the Ole Miss game when I told you that the read play on Will's fumble was a read, and he knew that the backer was crashing the entire time in that game, and he pulled it. Obviously, it didn't go the way we wanted to in that play, but that was a design read, and knowing that he was crashing down on Chris all game, he knew that at one point he's going to be able to pull it and take it around the end for a couple yards. But back at the game, another dog, that boy Deebo Samuels is that guy. I mean, that catch that he had last night, that 57-yard touchdown, I mean, the guy had 115 yards, I think, I think he had like 6 catches total.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
And it was a 57-yarder that he took to the house. Shook 4 dudes, basically ran over Jalen Ramsey. And
that was the worst tackle of the night. Jalen, you made the comment, Jalen Ramsey's bad in the open field on those. And he literally just he looked back at him twice, like, really?
Well, here's the thing. Coming from me, who is probably one of the worst open field tacklers of all time, I can't really say much, but when you're watching an NFL game like that and you're a guy like Jalen Ramsey, that's a play you got to be able to make. But, seeing him take off like that reminded me of when I was telling you that story when he was at South Carolina. My sophomore year, we go to Columbia. First play of the game, Debo's out at number 1 wide out by himself. I think they go twin trips open, so leave him over to the nub side by himself. He takes 1-2 steps, cuts across on a random slant route, and takes it fucking 75 yards to the house. I've never seen speed like that. And then last night, it was like deja vu all over again. Even though it was a comeback route and really the defensive back should have picked that ball or even got his hands on it if he came in with the long arm. But after he got that ball and the way that you saw him accelerate, I was like, damn. I was just like back in 2017 when he took off against us South Carolina. That's 3 dogs on that 49ers team, 2 of them being on defense, actually 3 of them being on defense, 1 of them being on offense. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, the Rams were they were down a few people, but, Kyle Shanahan knows what he's doing. Sean McVay knows what they're doing. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing this matchup later on in the year and seeing if they can get guys healthy and get guys back.
They got to get Odell back.
Have you, I was trying to make sure I get the details right before I go off on this tangent, but have you seen Debo's contract?
No, and that's another guy that should be getting paid. I'm glad he got paid.
Yeah, well, so he, was I guess a free agent, but was considering leaving. Demanded a trade. Actually,
yeah, he wanted out. He didn't want to be a running back, basically.
Yeah. Well, so they wanted him to play that position, right? So
he's an athlete,
but this is the way his contract's structured because of that. 3-year, $71.5 million contains 58% in guarantee, $58 million in guarantees. I'm sorry. The most ever given to a wide receiver. However, the most notable part of the deal comes in the form of incentives for him to run the ball.
Well, it's kind of like Taysom Hill's contract.
But hang on, 380 more yards in a season. He gets a $650,000 bonus. He gets $150,000 if he scores 3 rushing touchdowns, and he's capped at like $650,000 or something per whatever for yardage. So if it's on the ground,
Yeah, for multiple position athletes like that, I mean, they're very rare.
I get that, but how weird is it that their contract is based on? I mean, that's
Position that they play.
yeah, but well, it's not based. I'm saying it's not surprising that it's based on the position that they play, but like that's based on play calls. Like he'd be like, "Hey, give me I'm trying to make another $500,000. Give me a run."
Because he's I'm not going to sit here and say Deebo Samuel's a light guy. I mean, no way, shape, form, or fashion is he tiny or small at all. No. But with the way that the NFL is designed and the way that there's the interior front seven of an NFL defense is built, those are some big motherfuckers, dude.
Yeah.
And they bring it the fucking wood every single play. So for a guy like Deebo Samuels, who is used to being as a wideout, and taking jet sweeps or different things now, jet sweeps are different. But when you're taking a guy like Deebo Samuel and running him in between the tackles, yeah, I'd be like, you know what? If for however many carries I have or however many yards I get off a run play, yeah, you're going to give me this incentive because I'm not risking my fucking body and my health to go out there and run between the tackles when I was signed to go out and make plays in the out in space.
I'd say he's more concerned about longevity of his career, right? Like if you're going to use me as a running back who averages like 3 or 5 years in the NFL, then I'm going to be compensated for it.
Yeah, shortest lifespan in the NFL is an NFL running back, and obviously the NFL stands for not for long for a lot of the guys that I've been around.
I was about to say, that's wild.
And speaking of not for long, what else is not for long is the current NFL concussion protocol. NFLPA announces this week that changes will be made prior to Week 5. Obviously, after the scary situation we saw in Cincinnati with Tua going down last week, the NFLPA actually fired the independent doctor that was involved in treating and clearing Tua to play against the Bengals. The concussion protocol says that players who have, quote-unquote, gross motor instability can return to the field of play if the instability wasn't neurologically related. So going back to back down in Miami a couple weeks ago when he hit his head on the back of the turf, gets up, obviously looks like he was a shot deer, goes right back down to his knees, shaking his head, gets back up, goes right back down to a knee, and obviously you see his offensive lineman grab him like, hey, bro, we got you. Chill out. You're fucked up. We got you.
Yeah.
But then they come back and say that it was ruled a back injury or a spinal injury of some sort. Now, we are not fucking doctors. We've said that plenty of fucking times. We are not doctors. But as someone who has had many concussions, that's a concussion.
Look, here's I'm going to say something really stupid. I'm probably going to get reamed for, but I'm not a mechanic either, and I know when my brakes go out on my car. Like I've had enough experience in dealing with certain things in life that I know when I see something, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck,
it's a duck.
It's a duck, right? You've had experience with concussions. I've had experience with concussions. I've been around sports my entire life, from pee-wee football and little league baseball and basketball and MMA, all that stuff. I've seen it all, right? Mm-hmm. I know what it looks like when you have a concussion. I might not be able to read a brain scan, but I know when somebody's concussed based on all the other elements that I take into account in my brain when I watch something happen and see the effects of it. I'm like, okay, that's what my experience in life at 31 years old tells me that I'm looking at.
Damn, you just gave away your age, dog.
I don't give a shit. Damn. And
should have said 30.
It's mind-boggling to me that they can look at it. Maybe it was a back injury, but you're not going to tell me that he wobbled and fell down after
what's it called when UFC fighters, like when they get rocks, their equilibrium. Like you can tell, like when someone gets that knocked off.
Yeah.
Because they're stumbling, like I said, the shot deer comparison again. Now, are guys concussed when that happens? I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. Once I said again. But the thing about it is that concussions are such a gray area condition because it's not like a broken bone that you can physically see on an x-ray or sticking out of your fucking arm. It's not a torn ligament. It's not a contusion. It's not this. It's not that. It's literally based upon what the player feels at that time.
Yep.
And so just telling you from personal experience, like, you go in and you take your baseline test.
Everybody cheats those too.
Oh, dude. Like it is known, like in the
It's like,
football
what's a
locker room.
baseline test?
So a baseline test
What
is
do you have to?
It's a cognitive. Go ahead.
it's a cognitive test. So it's like you have no concussion. Let's say you signed with Middle Tennessee State football, right? One of your first couple days on campus, they're going to bring you in for a neurological baseline test for when you do get a concussion. This is what they're
comparing it against that.
They're comparing it against that. So dudes would go in being like, dude, I'm not fucking acing this thing, because 9 times out of 10, like even if you're not concussed, you got the stress of the season, you've got, you're tired. You got so many different things going on in your life to where you're probably never going to score that good again if you go in there and ace your baseline. So guys would literally go in there. I'm not going to say they'll flunk their baseline, but they'll miss a couple on purpose just so when we go back in there and we're fucked up, we could sit there and kind of cheat it a little bit. I'll actually tell you a story about how I used to cheat mine. So, and what they describe as a concussion today, if that's what it truly is, I've had 1,000. Like that's called Tuesday and Wednesday practice and pads. That's like every day after fall camp. Like you want to go in after practice and just shut the blinds, not have any sunlight come in, and just sit in silence. Not look at your phone, not look at anything like that. Well, anyways, so I remember my first real bad one was when I first got to UK, and it was in spring practice. And I'm telling you, I couldn't remember my name for a week.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, like, I would literally have to have people write things down for me of like what I had to do that day, and it would be posted up on my fridge. It's kind of like Thad Castle in Blue Mountain State. Like, literally, we had to write everything down. Like, I would have to, somebody would write my class schedule, like where I would have to be, or where I would meet someone to take me to class. And
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, really fucking bad.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that the UK training staff did me a disservice or anything like that. They did everything they could. Most of it was on me, because I'm sitting there thinking like, dude, I don't want that. Like, I don't want to play. Or I don't want to not play.
Yeah.
So that was my first real bad one. But the story I was getting to was my senior year when we were playing South Carolina, and tight end came across on a swap for a split zone play. My job was to come down, set the edge, make sure nothing gets outside of me. So we both come at a collision and both just bang heads like two battering rams, and we both fuck each other up. Like, I know he had to be concussed too, because we both fell. Like, we hit each other and we just dropped. Mm-hmm. We get up, shake our head, we go, fuck, dude, good hit. we pounded knuckles right there. Go back to the sideline. Again, don't remember any of the rest of the game. They pull me out in the fourth quarter. I don't remember the plane ride home. I don't remember anything until next Friday when we were playing Missouri. And
Good Lord, son, you lost a week?
Dude, I'm telling you, I don't remember anything. Don't remember shit.
That's concerning. I had one. I'm not going to sit here and compare.
Can I finish my story first?
I thought you were done.
No, I'm talking about how I cheated.
Did you forget the story you were telling?
No, of how I cheated the protocol test.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So the next week we played Missouri, and I sat out that game, obviously. Couldn't pass, my baseline or whatever. And then the next week we were playing Georgia at Georgia. So I was like, I'm not fucking missing this game.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what, I'm not missing this game. So the trainer pulls me into to one of the office rooms. Now, I don't know if they've changed the protocols since I left, or if it's anywhere compared to the NFL's protocols. But back then, and I say back then being in 2019, but it's really what it fucking feels like with everything going on. Back then, it was just a straight up baseline test. And like, they would ask you like how you feel. Can you remember this, remember that? And you would go, and they would read off numbers like, okay, 11, 7, 24, 96, 87, 4. Repeat those back to me. Not in order. You just had to repeat them back to me. So I would literally take my phone in there, hide it under the table, and I don't have to I've gotten so good, and I'm not promoting multitasking at all, or especially texting and driving.
You can do it.
But no, not on here we can. But I was at the point to where I knew what I was typing without even looking at my phone.
Yeah.
So I would, whenever they type out a number, I'd hit that. Everything, it's including names too. They'll do numbers and they'll do names. They'll do green, popsicle, dog, helmet, wood, some kind of else, some other name, and say, okay, read that back to me. And so obviously I didn't have time to type in, all the names of it, but I was typing in the first 2 letters of each one. And I would just be like, just like look down at my phone and repeat most of them back to them, good enough to where they fucking cleared me. Anyways, no, I'm so fucked up I got it backwards. This was after the South Carolina game, and we were playing Georgia that week. So I said I wasn't missing that game. I cheated the protocol test, go out against Georgia that week, and get absolutely decleated from the side. I mean, it was a perfect screen pass block. Perfect. And my dumb ass fell for it. I can't remember if it was a tight end or an offensive lineman, but literally put their helmet like right on my fucking temple. And it was lights out for like a second and a half.
Really?
I get up. I'm looking around. I know I'm playing football, but I'm like, where the fuck am I?
Oh, no.
Oh, shit.
So they take me off the sideline. They take me in the locker room. And then I randomly remember Mitch Barnhart coming in there. And you know those scenes in war movies where they get blown up and then they start to come back and the camera angle is like from their eyes perspective and it goes on, off. And it's like white noise and like a bunch of fucking ringing going on. And you can barely hear themselves, like there are other people talking.
You're describing the beach scene from
from Saving Private Ryan. Yeah, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Mitch Barnhart coming over to talk to me. I'm like,
first thing he sees is Mitch Barnhart waking up.
I'm like, what? And still like just so dazed. And then I remember, I think just randomly, I just started like crying. Like,
really?
Yeah, randomly like bawling my eyes out for no fucking reason. Yeah. Like I was just randomly crying. And then that's when I didn't remember my name for a week. And then we played Missouri the next week, and I had to sit out for that one. So, yeah, dude, concussions are scary, man. Especially, you know, with stuff with CTE that we've seen. You know, guys, you know, taking their own lives or falling into, you know, depression or anxiety or anything. I'm not going to sit here and say that, that those concussions may have or may have not caused a couple of those things for me. But at the end of the day, we know what we sign up for.
Okay.
You know. And the thing about it is, those things right there, like, they can only do so much.
So I saw something this week where they toyed with the idea of wearing the foam padding over the helmets in the games.
No.
I mean, but hang on. It's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not like what we have known football to be.
And it only takes away like 10%
but if
of
it's,
the blow.
Is that what it is?
It's like 10 to 15%. It doesn't hardly do anything.
At all.
Well, it's not, again, not a doctor, but my understanding from all the science behind the helmet and stuff is, there's only a certain amount of protection you can provide because it's the brain that's moving around in the skull that's the damaging part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even with the new Predator helmets that everybody's been wearing, I don't know if it's a special new space technology helmet that's supposed to, help with concussions. Like this one right here. Like, for example, like we had Rydell come in. And for guys that were concussion prone, this is a custom helmet that they made for me, not because of, anything else other than I'm prone to concussions. So if you can see inside here, has my name, it has my signature in there for some fucking reason, and it only fits me. They literally came in and put this like swimmer's cap over top of my head.
I saw that.
And then did a 360 scan of my head and then molded that into a helmet. And so, I wore a large. So if anybody else that wore a large put that on, like the different dimensions of like my cranium, which is, fucking enormous, it would just feel weird on them.
So that's your actual helmet?
Yeah. That was one of them I played with. I got another one at the house. But going back to what I was saying, man, it's just like concussions are so in a gray area because at the end of the day, there are, signs of a concussion, obviously with the memory loss, different things like that. But ultimately, it's up to the player. You know what I'm saying? To say, I'm okay or I'm not okay. Basically saying, I accept the consequence of potentially going out and doing further damage to my brain than I already have. Because at the end of the day, like I said before, you know what you sign up for. And for most guys, they can't afford to sit out unless it is something that they physically cannot do, like walk or throw or have shoulder surgery or anything like that. And I was always scared of my position being taken. So that was one thing why I never really sat out. And so, one guy that, obviously got his position taken moving forward from the conversation of concussions, it's Kenny Pickett time in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And I believe that every Steeler and Yinzer up in Pittsburgh, Zach, you were fired up about it. Everybody is fired up about the Kenny Pickett era, even though he threw 3 picks, which PFF said basically wasn't his fault.
Didn't let the pass touch the ground.
Yeah.
That's true.
He did. He did not.
But then he had 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
But, at the end of the day, you had Zach Wilson grittying all over the Pittsburgh moms up there.
So grittying all over.
Most rushing touchdowns by any rookie QB in their debut.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now old Mitch is a pretty high-paid backup.
Dude, to be quite honest with you, man, it's kind of sad to see the Mitch Trubisky story unfold. I mean, he had to deal with Matt Nagy, even though Matt Nagy is now absolutely killing it in Kansas City. I give my buddy Mike, shout out to you, Mike. You freaking, God, I wish I could come across this screen right now and beat your ass. Just kidding. But, when they brought him in, it was more like, okay, this is our guy. This is the guy that's going to get us to the promised land. Now, I will say, one thing that, Kenny Pickett doesn't have yet is the MVP. He's not an MVP, an MVP. You remember the Nickelodeon game? Mr. Trubisky,
no.
MVP.
Oh,
he got slimed and all, dude.
Yep. Justin Jefferson won that past week.
Yeah, for real?
Yeah.
He's a dog. Justin Jefferson, we'll get to that England game, too, because I kind of want to talk about that. Because we also have we got Packers and Giants next week.
Giants and...
But it's the Packers next week.
Yep.
The Packers and Giants next week at 9:30. That is so awesome.
It the Packers?
Yeah,
I love it.
It is so awesome to wake up hungover from a Saturday college football, like a college football Saturday, and instantly watch NFL football.
Dude,
It's the best.
At 9:30.
It's the best.
I texted my friend. I was like, I have football back to back today.
Yeah,
I was like,
Packers Giants.
Packers Giants. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if Aaron Rodgers is going to go over there and just absolutely sling
Who did
it
they-
all over.
they
He's probably already there.
They said
No, they don't leave till
someone's out that
Thursday,
game.
I don't think.
He's probably already there.
They said Daniel Jones might
In
be
his
out
mind.
that game.
He's
But anyways, back to Kenny Pickett. Mike Tomlin officially today has listed Kenny Pickett as the starting quarterback moving forward.
QB1.
Entered the game, obviously, last week on the first offensive possession of the second half. When asked about that, Mike Tomlin said, we just needed a boost. We needed something to get the guys fired up. And from the reaction that they got, I mean, it seemed like everybody from on the sideline was on board with it. Everybody in the stands was obviously on board with it with the Kenny chance, ever since week 1.
Mitch loved it too in the post-game interview. It's great.
He came in, threw a pick, and then
Mitch loved what?
They said
Getting replaced.
Yeah, they said.
he
what's your
was
thoughts
very-
on?
I could tell your sarcasm.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. He didn't.
Yeah, he was
didn't
very
seem too
disappointed. I
excited.
remember because I was sitting there thinking, I know I looked through that article and he did not seem too fucking pleased.
Yeah,
so.
the reporter asked him, like, why do you think they did? He's like, you have to ask Tomlin. He's like, Tomlin said they need a spark. He said, well, there you go.
Yep, there you go. Needed a spark.
he came in.
Well, I mean, when you only have what was he? You only had 85 yards of offense in that first half. I mean, if you're going to take a quarterback in the first round, they've not taken a quarterback in the first round since Big Ben was there.
Yep.
Yeah,
You have Big Ben who's coming out and fucking both boots on both feet, shoulders iced up, maybe have a back brace on, maybe a neck brace. Who knows?
Like
Who knows?
6'5",
Just out there slinging it.
230.
And somehow can't walk from Sunday to Friday, and then somehow hobbles his ass out there and plays on Sunday.
Yep.
hey,
So
Mitch is going to be the highest paid
Backup.
backup.
No,
Yeah.
Cooper Rush
Well,
is.
that's true.
we'll get into that too.
But, I mean, for me, I'm a big Steelers fan. And like you said, if you're going to draft somebody first round, Steelers already aren't the greatest this year. Let your guy get going and learn his receivers. And then once you lost TJ Watt, the defense just isn't the same.
No, you do have Minka Fitzpatrick back there, though, who did have a big game on Sunday.
Yeah, he had an interception.
Had the interception that led to, I believe, the second score for Kenny Pickett. Another dog.
Yeah.
They had like a fumble recovery and then
Minka
a
Fitzpatrick.
interception.
So we'll talk about another quarterback controversy. We'll head down to Jerryland in Dallas, Texas. Cooper Rush now 4-0 as a starter in NFL, 3-0 this year after replacing Dak Prescott.
He's a winner.
Had surgery on his right thumb on September 12th. Had the stitch removed last week on September 26th. And, Jerry actually originally said that, we can expect Dak back within 4 weeks. And everybody was kind of like, okay, Jerry.
That's what I was like,
let's
whoa.
kind of backtrack
Pump
here.
the
There's
brakes.
a having a surgically repaired thumb. I don't know if 4 weeks is going
With
to
pins in it.
Yeah, I don't know if 4 weeks is going to be enough, but Jerry's sitting there going, you know what? Here's the thing about it. Dak's a tough resilient guy. He can go in there and get that pin in. He can come back in 3 to 4 weeks. Ain't gonna be no problem.
He was right.
I mean, Jerry Jones might have a PhD. We may not know
They
that.
have him as QB1 this coming up week.
They have him listed as number one.
Sure.
I don't know if he's listed yet, but they said they expect him to play. But
That's not what I read, because as I have here in my notes, I know that our show's called Fully Unscripted, so most of the time we are going unscripted, but we do have to have notes for you guys so we don't sound like complete buffoons on here.
it's more of a flow chart.
Yeah.
But he even said last week that, he wants a quarterback controversy. He's like, we're winning games, man.
I mean, they
It'd be
are.
pretty good.
Here's the thing.
Cooper Rush is a
Quarterback
winner.
controversy.
Go
Like,
ahead.
it's-
I already know what you're going to say.
That's the question. If
It's
that
not the
comes
question.
back
It's not.
and he loses,
It's
But I don't think that's what he meant to say it by. What he meant to say is that we're winning. We're winning right now, so that gives Dak more time to heal.
Right.
You don't have to rush him back. And that's the thing about it. We were talking about this before the show. If you're paying him that much money, obviously that's going to be your guy. And even after Jerry Jones said that, Mike McCarthy shut down all of that shit and said, clearly everybody in our locker room and everybody in the building, including Jerry, Dak is our quarterback. So what I'm saying is that, Jerry's pushing 80, boys. I mean, sometimes, things come out, a little different than what he meant to say,
You
but
got two guys on totally different ends of the spectrum, I feel like.
you mean
Jerry's
one of them's making $160 million and they're not going to put him on the bench?
I'm talking with Jerry and Mike.
Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, they're on. But I also, like you said, who do they have coming up this week? The Commanders. Like, there's zero
We'll
reason
actually be speaking to
play.
a commander here in shortly, so we'll ask him how he prepares for a quarterback controversy like that. Actually, no, they already played. They play the Titans coming up. I'm going to ask him how he plans on, planning a guy against like Derrick Henry.
It's just that's going to be a good conversation. But they're paying him $160 million.
that's why. I mean, I feel like if you have him on your roster, you obviously you have to play him.
Explain how you're going to make that kind of investment, financial investment. Who's already proven himself.
You have to get rid of him.
For me, it's just if Rush goes 4-0, 5-0, whatever it is, and then Dak comes back and drops one or two, like how long till people start
That's fine.
calling for it, right?
But I'm saying right now, you can't be like, oh, he's earned his
Right, yeah. No, you have to let Dak back.
Okay,
Okay,
then
maybe.
you write the check for the $160 million,
Right,
and,
yeah.
and sit him on the bench.
Dallas plays the Rams this coming up week. Who have the Rams beat? No one. I mean, I think right now with how Matthew Stafford's playing, how we saw last night, 0 touchdowns, him and Cooper Rush will probably be a good duel of field goals.
But Cooper Rush probably isn't playing.
Maybe
He probably is, because Jerry even said this week
what
that
I'm
his
saying-
football grip is not well enough to
That's
play.
what I'm saying is
Like
why,
he doesn't
why
have
rush
like
him back
he's not
again?
even thrown yet. He's
Why-
lightly tossed. He is not even legit thrown to his receivers yet. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you're 3-0 right now, let this thing fucking ride.
Like-
If you're hot, you got it's like playing at the casino. If you got a hot one, let it go. Keep riding, baby.
Yeah, you're not 1-2, right? Like
No.
you don't need him to come back. You got yourself such a cushion now.
Yeah.
Keep riding the wave.
Now,
Like let him get
if he
fully
was
healthy.
1-2, 0-3.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I could see that them making a push to try to have Dak
have
come
to.
back. But you're 3-0.
Yep.
So why try to rush it? There's no point in that.
There's zero
Yeah,
reason.
much
just
different
for him to
conversation.
get strip sacked again next week by Aaron Darnold and tear
Don't talk about strip sacks, please.
all that up.
Hey, I'll tell you what though.
We still got to get to that.
You know who else played with a broken thumb?
You,
No, I played with a broken hand. I'm talking about on his throwing arm, his throwing
Brady.
hand.
Aaron Rodgers. I don't know.
The
Will
gunslinger
Levis.
himself, Brett Favre.
Brett Favre.
I mean, that guy sitting there going, you know what? It's the poorest state in the country.
Speaking of Brett Favre,
It's the poorest state in the country. I'm gonna take your money. It's kind of like the opposite of Robin Hood. God, I bet if Favre probably watched that Robin Hood movie and was like, probably got it twisted up a little bit. God, look here, he's taking money from the poor, giving it to the rich.
I'll pose the question we're all here wanting to ask. How well do you think Brett Favre and Antonio Brown combo is going to work in the state pen?
It's gonna be like Shaq and Kobe did. It's literally gonna be like Shaq and Kobe. It's
Unless-
gonna be
Dubai kills Antonio Brown.
He's back. He's
apparently
back
that happened in May.
Yeah,
so the video happened in May.
Yeah, it wasn't.
The video happened in May, and it just now surfaced.
They're like Dubai officials are still reviewing it. I saw like on
what are they going to do? They're not coming over to get his ass.
Get him. Yeah, they ain't coming to get him.
They ain't coming to get his ass. It could be the mob. I mean, there could be like Israeli mob or something like that come over and kidnap his ass.
I would not be shocked if they have all the money in the world. They come get him and.
Well, I mean, you had that, and then because
they don't put up with that's why Dubai's the safest city in the world.
No, they don't put up with no bullshit. That's the Middle East,
they don't
bro.
put up with bullshit.
People get stoned for
like they
wearing the wrong dress.
Yeah,
so.
like he will like.
But here's the thing though too. I mean, we're not in any position to, really judge anybody.
And I don't know the full story.
Yeah, I don't know the full story. That's what I'm saying. But like, man, what he did after though.
And I thought
with
about it.
posing with
man.
Giselle, posting that picture with
picture. I can't believe you hadn't even seen that.
I didn't see that.
That's crossing the line.
I've been off social media.
I woke up this morning and he reposted it on his story put the shit on.
He's all right. Look, he is like, the poster boy. Again, not a doctor. He's the poster boy for CTE.
Yeah,
because he was so well spoken. Am I wrong?
I don't know, because like people have been saying that, when I read through stuff, but then there's also college teammates that have come out and said that they're not surprised about this. There's people that have known him for his whole life that says that, this is...
I think he's acting a little bit out of character because he's got money, and at this point he doesn't have to ever work.
I mean, when you're walking around with guys like Kanye West and
you can do
literally some of the most richest people in the world, like there has to be a sense of I can literally do whatever the fuck I want.
I'm sure there is.
At that time, he was in Dubai. It was Floyd Mayweather. It was for Floyd's
the exhibition
fight.
when he brought him out in the ring.
I don't understand where he switched though, right?
Not having his contract signed.
I think the Steelers kept him in check for a long time.
That's what I'm saying. I think him being on a team kept him in check because it's sort of like me and him have talked before about when people go out that are on teams here and stuff. It's like you have an appearance to uphold and keep, so you got to keep.
I think
keep your
he
shit
came
together.
out and talked about that with Big Ben and them. He basically shits on everybody that he talks about. I mean, You even had a guy like Tom Brady who went to bat for him both in New England and in Tampa. Literally let him stay at his house, both in New England and in Tampa, until he found a place to live. Yeah. And now you're going to drag this dude for. Now, here's the thing: we don't know the full story. We don't know if there's stuff that's happened behind the scene, if they've had disagreements before. Or,
it doesn't matter.
Whatever.
It's not our.
Doesn't
business.
matter.
But now the day after he posts that, Tom Brady and Giselle are both hired divorce attorneys.
I know. I'm saying it's not his place. No matter what happened behind closed doors, it's not Antonio Brown's place to put that on public display.
No.
Tom Brady's never done that to him. He's the one that went to bat for him in Tampa and New England, like you said. He's done what he can to help him out. Now, maybe he's been a piece of shit.
It doesn't matter. There's lines, right?
You don't cross that line. And that, like, to me, forget his off the field behavior. Forget, quitting on the team in Tampa and all that stuff. That kind of a move right there means you're not a good teammate. That I wouldn't hire you. I don't care how good you can catch the football. That's going to cause.
Look, at this point, it's person, man. Like you're no longer a friend.
You can't like. This is the guy that went out and tried to get you your money, tried to get you second chances, tried to go to bat for you with team owners,
won you a Super Bowl,
brought you a Super Bowl,
won you a fucking Super Bowl.
And not only did you chuck up the deuces on the field in the game and take your uniform off in the game
against the Jets,
not in practice,
but a game
in the game, and then you go and do something like that.
That was one of the wildest things I've ever seen.
That backhanded shot when Tom Brady's obviously dealing with what he's dealing with his family. There's kids involved. It's like you don't do that.
Like,
and that to me is too much of a window into that man's soul to justify not being able to be.
Can we talk about real quick about like Tom Brady's legit dedication and love for the when we say married to the game. Tom Brady is literally married to the game, dude.
Well, once this divorce gets finalized, we'll probably have a proceeding about it.
Hey, Tampa's like,
but here's
are we
the
going to
thing.
get him for some more years?
You think Tom Brady's going to have any kind of problem pulling another supermodel?
No.
Absolutely
but
not.
I want to know how rich she's about to be. She's about to be.
Well, she'll be fine.
She's
She's already fucking loaded without him, and now she's
got more money than he does.
She's got a ton of money.
She's gonna get the house. She's gonna get the cars. She's gonna get the kids. She's gonna get everything.
He doesn't care as long as he gets that football.
As long as he gets that
football.
That's his true baby.
Hey, listen.
Tom's gonna buy the house on both sides of her.
Does the AB thing not make you think about it a little bit?
No.
No.
No, that's
now
a
that
troll
you said
move.
that, sorry, it's not. I mean, it's not basketball season. You see John Morant bought his house and then his parents' house like right next door.
Yeah.
Like,
Speaking of John Morant, you see him
mansions.
tat him on his shooting
That's
hand.
hard.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I
He
freaking
played
love
last-
John
Who
Morant.
is it? You'll know this. You might know it too. Who is it that doesn't have any tats on their? It was
James
Strictly
Jones.
for
Buckets.
buckets.
No.
Nick
No.
Nick Young.
Nick Young.
Nick Young.
It's terrible.
It was Nick
He's
Young.
That's my
terrible.
that's my concept.
No
Is that what yours
tattoos,
is?
strictly for buckets.
Dude, I have all my tattoos are literally on my left side.
What's
I have
your
none on my right side.
arm? For
What's your right
clotheslining
arm?
Right
people?
arm's for shaking hands, doing business. Left hand's for partying.
Okay.
All right, there you go. But
So
yeah,
you
no,
shotgun with your left?
I do.
We have video.
Shotguns with his left,
We'll have
drinks
to-
wine
we'll have to
with
run
his
that
right.
back. We'll have to run that
Smoke
back.
Johnson with my left hand.
Huh?
Smoke Johnson with my left hand.
No, but yeah, so two like 8-bedroom houses up in the hills of Tennessee somewhere that are just like he walked out on his
That's not,
driveway.
that's not uncommon. though.
Screamed at his dad and was like, "Yo, pops, what up?" And like you hear his dad
That's funny.
scream over to him. I was like,
That's funny.
That's a dream, though, dude.
That's
for
like
real.
that-
Like
that's
having a
what I'm
family
saying.
compound.
And
That's
then,
like my dream. Like hopefully, like one day we have the fully unscripted ranch. We're like,
That would be
you
the
know, I have a house, and then like a couple thousand yards down, Todd has a
Couple
house, you guys have a house,
thousand.
Brandon has a house with his 17,000 kids running around. It'll be a great time.
And then like right after he bought his sister a car, and I was like, that'd be dope.
No, tell you what else is gonna be dope. Right on the other side of this. Well, let me do that again. Tell you what else is gonna be dope. We also have a dope interview coming up right here with Washington Commanders linebacker Jamin Davis, and then after we get done with that interview, we'll come back and we will talk about the Georgia-Missouri game and kind of what surprised us there and what does that mean for the SEC East and what's it mean for Kentucky moving forward. And then, like I said, we'll break down the Kentucky Ole Miss game, and then we'll preview Kentucky South Carolina, and then we'll get out of here because
Zach can't wait for the breakdown of the UK game. Before we transition to this interview, though, let me give you one quick stat. Giselle, $400 million. Tom Brady, $250.
After this year, though, he's going to be getting paid $100 million a year to broadcast games.
Yeah, he is.
Sounds like his net worth is going to go up during the
he's-
divorce.
his net
They
worth.
might not
You
take him anymore with that appearance. He's
Oh, dude, he's Tom Brady, bro.
with what?
his appearance. It looks.
Because he got his cheekbones done.
Oh,
Oh,
bro, he
you're
looks
out of your
rough.
mind.
You're out of your
That-
mind,
rough.
dude. Have
They-
you
you
seen?
think they're paying him for his looks? I mean, I'm
looks
sure that
rough.
goes hand in hand.
Here's
a
my
little bit,
thing,
but
though. If Tony Romo is as good as he is in the booth,
But he
dude,
can talk.
and the thing about it is, I'm pretty sure Romo's like hammered drunk up there all the time.
Probably.
I'm not making accusations. I'm not.
I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
That's
I'm
we
not.
need- that's
And
a
Tony
slogan
Romo,
for
I
the
love
shirts.
you.
I'm not
I've
a
went to bat
doctor.
for you plenty of times on
It's a
Twitter. I
possibility.
think it's incredible if you are. But he's unbelievable up there commentating
great,
those
man.
games. So I can only imagine
I've
Tom Brady,
learned-
Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, all those guys. Imagine literally a potential 8-time Super Bowl champion quarterback calling your games. I mean, that would be unbelievable.
$100
When he
million.
retires at 62, they'll probably get him in there.
That's true.
I mean,
He's
now
a-
with him,
he's
if
staying
they
a
actually
while.
get a divorce, like he might be like, all right, let's
He's
ball.
staying a while.
Like,
He's
he's
just going to bid his
he's gonna keep
services
it
out
up.
to the highest
At the end
bidder.
of the day, who gives a shit? We're not divorce court. Anyways, let's take it to our interview with Jamin Davis. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, a former teammate of mine, great friend of mine, first team All-SEC, 19th overall draft pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. I believe this might be the only guy that loves Tyler Childers and Chris Stapleton more than I do. None other than the man himself from South Georgia, Mr. Jamin Davis. What's going on, brother?
Yes, sir, man. You got that one right, correct, man. It's good to see you, bro. I'm just glad to be here, dog. I ain't really heard from you in a hot minute, bro. So it's good getting a chance to see your pretty face over there, dog.
Oh, man, you too nice, man. Too nice, man. It's been a while, man. I know that after I graduated, that's when COVID happened, and so obviously nobody was allowed to basically go anywhere or go watch games or anything like that. But, man, it was I'll go ahead and tell you, man, it was awesome seeing you shine that last year, man. I mean, it was unbelievable what you did coming in, being a first-year starter, and absolutely just dominating, man. I mean, that made me more proud as a friend, as a teammate, more than anything, man, to see where you are now and, seeing, dreams come to reality. I know we've had, multiple talks and, when we were rooming together on Friday nights in the hotel room and, and everything you've wanted to do, man. So first off, I want to say, man, as a friend, more than anything, man, I'm so fucking happy for you and everything
Hell
you've
yeah.
accomplished, man. And it's great to be able to turn the TV on and see 52 out there doing his thing for Washington, man. So that's awesome, man. So congratulations on everything. First of all, getting down into some football talk here real quick, man. Just your second year in the league. You came in last year. What was it like for you to get that call from Ron Rivera, who is and obviously a great defensive mind when the NFL have been surrounded by plenty of talented dudes coming in and out of the league. What did that mean to you to think that, that they thought that highly of you to bring you in as the 17th overall pick or 19th overall pick? My bad.
Nah, you good. Oh man, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. To be honest with you, bro. You know exactly how it was with a guy like Stu leading us through Kentucky, bro. Just trying to stay as humble as ever, and just waiting on your chance to just go out there and do what you do every day. So, I mean, just getting that call, man. Like I said, it was just like my heart was racing the entire time. I almost was stuttering with words and whatnot, man. It was pretty crazy. And then once I finally got a chance to get up here to Washington and get rolling, it was just like, wow, like we really doing this thing that we've been working on our entire life,
Absolutely, man. Like I said, it's been nothing but fun to be able to turn the TV on and watch you do your thing, man. I got to watch the game a couple weekends ago when you guys were in Detroit and how you had a couple sacks in that game, man. I was like, it's my boy Jamin. Let's go, dog. Every single time I see you
Hell
on
yeah.
it gets me fired up, man. But coming into your second year here in the league, what are some of the things that you see in a difference in between your play from your rookie season to your second year in the league?
I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where just getting more comfortable in my own skin. It's kind of like when we first got to Kentucky, you don't know what to expect. You get out there and you finally get a chance to get knocked on your butt a few times, and then from there you learn and you continue to grow. So it's like now that I got a chance to get in and get my feet wet, I'm more so comfortable in my own skin and just trying to just be a lot faster to the ball, just trying to be around guys that trying to make more plays and just doing what we can to just keep this thing rolling.
That's awesome, man. Now you got heading into, I know you guys had a disappointing loss last week in Dallas. This week coming up, you're playing the Tennessee Titans, man. And I just want to ask, how do you prepare not only as a defense, but more in particular as an inside linebacker for a guy like Derrick Henry, who we know is, King Henry, one of the most fearsome runners in all of the NFL. So how do you prepare for a powerful speed guy like that who is such a large guy to bring down?
Right, man. It's crazy you say that because right before I hopped on here, we just got done watching a little bit of film on him. With a team like that, I mean, the first thing you got to do is stop the run. With that offense, that's really what they rooted around is that run game. So, I mean, coming out trying to get what you can to get rid of that one-headed horse they got over there with Derrick Henry. You just come out and try to get all 11 hands to the ball and try to just forget how things been going the past few weeks because we know that's not the standard of our defense. Similar to how it was over there with Coach White when we was at Kentucky. You just got to go out there and forget what everybody's saying about you and just first and foremost stop the run and try to play fast at all times. And then next thing you know, everything else around it will just happen. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, transitioning over to a couple teammates of yours, obviously Carson Wentz coming in, first-year guy there in Washington, coming from the Indianapolis Colts. Some of the people talk about, this is the kind of guy that, wants to take a shot, each and every single play. What have you seen so far throughout the season, his progression through the couple weeks of the season so far?
I mean, even when he first came in around the time of training camp, you just know that he's a guy that's just really a big, fearsome leader, and he just does what he needs to do to keep that offense rolling. So, I mean, it's the same thing, like I said, with our side of the ball. Like, you just want to make sure that everybody's just firing on all cylinders and not really worrying about what's going on around us. And then with a guy like Carson, even though things ain't been going the way we wanted to, you just know that he ain't going to back down from any challenges. You seen how it was even when he was out in Philadelphia. So, just going forward, he going to go out there and do what he needs to do and just continue to be the leader that he is and try to keep playing ball. That's all we can do.
God damn, man, you've gotten good at this interview and shit, man. You got good, man. You got the answers down packed, man. They've been putting your ass through media training. I know they have.
Oh, man, you know it. That was one of the first things when you get in, bro.
Oh, man. Speaking of some of the first things, coming into the league, what were some of the things that you were expecting or some of the things you weren't expecting coming in, let's say, throughout your whole rookie season, through rookie minicamp, different things like that? What were some of the things that kind of surprised you about making that jump from the SEC to the NFL?
I feel like that was one of the things that helped the most, especially with the strength and training staff that we had over there at Kentucky. That was one of the things that had me prepared to have my own routine on how to make sure I'm coming in, getting the correct treatment and stuff like that I needed to do to keep my body where it needed to be. But, I mean, as far as everything else, I think one of the craziest differences for me is oh man, ain't no more damn schoolwork and all this. This is your job now. Everything is straight ball related. We always watching film. We always meeting up with the guys to figure out what we need to do going into this season to try to just get right and go make us a playoff run. So, I mean, that was probably one of the biggest jumps for me is just man, everything is just straight ball now. Everything you're thinking about is no more, oh, I got to make sure I'm at tutoring sessions and all this other stuff. So, hell, now it's more so just trying to go make some plays so we can make that playoff run.
I heard that. I'd say probably the most, I'd say, most poundage lifted off your shoulders when you finally get to delete that Canvas app on your phone and know that you ain't got to go, you got to worry about no papers getting in, none of that shit. So, man, I can only imagine. That's dope, man. Moving forward, obviously, what are some of the things that you've worked on personally to elevate your game from your rookie season going into your second season in NFL? Obviously, there's a lot of things that guys do in the offseason, whether it be improve their speed, improve their strength, improve their lateral quickness, different things like that. What has been your main focal point on improving this year going into your second year in the league?
I mean, one of the biggest things for me this year was like trying to realize like a lot of these things that's going on around the league is really they have this thing called a copycat league. Like a lot of these teams running the same thing. They're just trying to figure out different ways to run it and just doing different disguises. So I think more so this offseason, I spent a lot of time on trying to realize like, okay, they're in this formation, so I can kind of expect a belly or a run, a downhill run game, or I know a crack toss or something like that is coming on this play, and trying to do whatever I could to try to put myself ahead of the play and just knowing like what's coming and anticipating it so that I can make a lot more plays.
That's what I try to tell a lot of people too. Like when they ask me, like, when we're sitting here watching games and like Todd will ask me, like I'll call out a play of, seeing like we're like Coach House taught us, the levels of the running back. You got level 1, level 2, level 3, and then you got splits into the boundary. You got 4 strong, and so you're out there playing a game of process of elimination of plays that they can actually run. So I can understand seeing how everybody basically runs the same exact pro style offense or the West Coast offense, whatever you want to call it. But obviously having different formations, different motions, different things like that to be able to create the same exact play that you've seen 1,000 times. And so I could see how that could be very easy for a linebacker to sit there and go back and say, I've seen this before. It's only creating a different motion or a different alignment, different things like that. So, yeah, absolutely. But
that's more so one of the things in the league today is like trying to take things like back alignments and like you said with Coach House and how he taught us things like that, and like trying to put that into use and knowing like, okay, if he's lining up child, he's pretty wide. You can pretty much guess that he's about to get out right now. And simple things like that can help you take your game to the next level. So that was one of the main things I really focused on a lot this offseason and just trying to go forward and make a lot of plays.
Hell yeah. Todd, you got anything?
No, I'm fascinated by this. So I was a hooper, so hearing y'all talk football schematics and stuff is fascinating to me because I admittedly don't understand a whole lot about it. One of the coolest things last night, got to watch the Monday Night Football game with Cash over at the house and watching, what's his name? You tried to pronounce it earlier. The D-back make the break on the ball for that interception.
Kid from USC.
From USC, that dude.
I can't remember his name.
But watching how, I flipped over to Peyton and Eli doing their breakdown on ESPN because I was like fascinated by the fact that he was able to read that play and knew that they were going to that screen pass and made a play on the ball before it was ever thrown. And kind of sliding into that gap and get that pick six. And Cash just, sitting there with me, kind of reiterating how much that takes the life out of the offense and just completely, they have no stamina, no steam anymore.
Right.
And so, yeah, just watching what you guys do and how you're able to see the game in a way that, a basic fan or even a sports fanatic that hasn't been out there and done that is fascinating to me. So I have an unbelievable amount of respect for what you all do and how much time and energy goes in to being able to make those reads even before the ball's ever snapped.
Hell yeah, man. It's like I said, it's all about what's going on behind the scenes, bro. Like just sitting, putting in countless hours throughout the week and watching extra film. And like I said before I got on here, just sitting watching as much as I can on Tennessee because you never know what play that you get a head start on is going to be the one that makes a difference in the game. So
yeah, well, it's fascinating to watch you. I've been a fan of yours since you were at UK, and it's been a pleasure to follow you into the league as well. But like you said, it went from being what got your education paid for to being your full-time gig. And I know, from being around a lot of guys, what that looks like and what that does. So keep grinding, man. You're killing it.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Always.
man, one thing I want to ask you, so playing with a guy in the front seven like Jonathan Allen, what does he bring in each and every week to that defense, man? I know. I just had to get somebody's personal perspective on it that sees it every single day. I mean, that guy is an absolute force to be reckoned with every time the ball is being snapped. So, what's that kind of guy like that bring to that defense each and every week and on that defensive line?
Bro, it's almost like Cash Daniels 2.0, man. He's one of those guys that got a couple screws loose up top as well, dog.
Hey, we're defensive guys, man. We all got
Man, definitely, man, definitely. A guy like John, he bring it every single day, honestly. Like just from his preparation to how he is even in practices and everything, man. He's one of those guys that he's just gonna not take no for an answer. You just do what you can and try to do as much as possible to help him out up front. So I mean, having a guy like that, like on your defense, is really beneficial, and just doing what you can and just try to just mimic exactly what he's doing, so that one day you can try to just mold your own footsteps as well.
I mean, just having a guy like that up front, I think, would allow as an inside linebacker, put my helmet back on for a second. I would imagine it allows you to play, pretty freely back there behind a guy like that and be able to make sure reading your keys correctly and knowing that you got a front defensive line up there to where you're not going to have a guard sitting in your lap each and every single play because those guys will take care of their gap responsibilities, what they got to do each and every play. So I could see how that could be helpful for a young guy like you in the league to be able to be freed up and be able to have more of a clear mind out there and just go out there and play fast. So I could see how a guy like Jonathan Allen can definitely do that, man. But moving forward, man, with you guys coming up, like I said, with Tennessee, and you got a couple big stretches down the line, what are some of the keys for this defense moving forward? I know you've talked about stopping the run against Tennessee and obviously living up to the standard of your defense each and every week. So moving forward, what are some of the things you guys are expecting, and what are some of the things you guys think that might propose a different challenge to you guys week in and week out?
I mean, one of the big focal points right now is trying to make sure we're not giving any gifts, like going out there and making whoever we playing earn every fucking every freaking play. Oh, okay.
Dog.
But yeah, every yard they get, man, they're gonna have to earn it from us, and just making sure that we capping off all these big plays and stuff like that, knowing to give up anything. And at first, one of our biggest focus points was just making sure we're getting off the field on third down. But if you're doing what you need to do on first and second, we won't even have to worry about that as much. So, I mean, now it's just trying to go out there, just play fast, get all 11 hands to the ball, and just do what we can and just make some more plays for the team as a whole. Because, I mean, hell, defense wins championships at the end of the day, and if we create turnovers, we won't even have to worry about what Carson and them doing over there. So
That's true. Man, have you got a chance to watch the Cats in this year? I mean, I know you're in the middle of the season, so
come on, man. Come on, man. You already know I did, man. I was a little pissed last weekend with the Ole Miss game. It was a couple questionable calls out there. But, hey, I'm really proud, man. It's crazy just seeing how far the team has come as in general with the program, man. Just watching Coach Stoops and what he's doing over there, it's honestly amazing. Because it was one of those things that you just bought into even throughout the recruiting process. And now it's like, with everybody that had so much shit to say about him back then, it's like, I told you so. You know what I mean?
We were actually talking about that on the pod today. You look at, 5 FBS coaches that have lost their job going into week 6 of the college football season. So I was telling them, and even they asked Coach Stoops today about what he thought about it. And I believe he was talking about how he thinks that social media has played a big role into it to where literally everybody and their brother has an opinion now. I'm sure that even after some games, like you can't even fucking get on Twitter or some shit like that. Couch quarterbacks trying to tell you exactly how you do your job.
Exactly.
And, Coach Stoops was actually talking about, how that actually plays a role into powerful decision-making nowadays. Because, I mean, they say they don't see it, but they either hear about it or they see it because inevitably, social media is a part of life now. It's a part of sports big time, with marketing and different things like that. And so he was actually talking about how, when you come out after a game and, somebody's always tweeting the AD, somebody's always tweeting the coach. And so I was telling them that I'm glad that social media and Twitter, more in particular, wasn't as big when we were there because, it might have been a different story with, some of the seasons that Coach Stoops has had and some of the seasons that we might have been going down the path of even when we were there. And so I was talking to them about, how thankful I am that, social media wasn't that big then, allowing Eli Capilouto and Mitch Barnhart to be able to have the patience in Coach Stoops and seeing now where the program is. I mean, putting out multiple NFL draft picks, multiple first-round draft picks, seeing everybody in the league making plays. I mean, you got you making plays. You got Lonnie. You got Mike Edwards, who's a Super Bowl champion. I mean, you got Bully and Phil down there in Carolina. You got big Quentin Bohanna. Did you get to see? Did you get to say what's up to Quentin after the game?
Come on, now I did. That was one of the first people I went to after the game, man. It's just every single chance I get when I get an opportunity to go out there and play against somebody that was one of my former teammates. It's crazy, man. It's like I went up to Big Q and I'm like, damn, bro, like we really doing this, man. Like it's a blessing, bro. It's really a blessing, honestly.
That's crazy, man. I mean, it's so awesome. Like I said, not only watching you every single Sunday, but turning on and seeing Big Q on there, seeing Kelvin Joseph and all those guys on there, Mike, like
Yep.
I've already said, Chris. I mean, the list goes on, and so you can definitely tell that the program of Kentucky football, not just from a performance standpoint, but from putting guys in the league standpoint, it seems like we're climbing that ladder, with other top tier SEC programs, and so. Yeah, man,
No doubt.
it's always great to see guys like you and everybody out there making plays, man. But like I said, we won't keep you long, man. There's a couple things else I want to ask you. One thing I got to ask is, you guys ever have so I know I have you have Phil on Snapchat, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I saw where they had he'd made a couple bets with some Ole Miss guys, and him and Bully had to wear an Ole Miss shirt back to
Where there's something going.
Is there any kind of and that's one thing I always tell about these guys. That's the locker room aspect that you miss the most about the game once you get away from it. Has there ever been any crazy bets you've had to do to to make sure? I mean, whenever it's involving Kentucky and some other team that's that your teammates with now.
Actually, I ended up winning 2 bets this year from Kentucky. So the first one was one of the old heads, John Bosa, he used to play at Florida. And I told him going into the game, I was like, okay, y'all gonna keep sleeping on Kentucky. Then they gonna go back down there to the swamp and bust that ass again. And then he was talking about, oh man, that ain't happened since 2018 and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, just watch. Like you said that like that was so far ago, like so long ago. And then midway through the game, I'm sitting texting. I'm like, yeah, what's all that shit you were saying now, man? Yeah, and then basically that next Monday when we came back in the locker room, he walked in, he's silent. I'm like, okay. I went over there to him. I put a whole bunch of Kentucky gear, T-shirts, socks, everything. I'm like, make sure you go ahead and put that on for the day, man. That's why I told you what's going with it. And yeah, man. And then the second one, it was this one dude, he was an LSU fan, and he was talking about how Kentucky gonna lose the home opener and all of this. And I'm like, are you like what are you smoking? Like, are you crazy? Like, what's wrong with you? And he just kept on saying, he was one of our athletic trainers, and I'm just like, bro, are you like you? I don't think you realize how much talent is really over there in Kentucky. Like, you just talking out the side of your mouth. And then he's just going on in Kentucky, a basketball school, and blah, blah, blah. And then midway through, next thing you know, they getting ranked AP and all this other shit. And he's just like, oh, man, I didn't know they were that good and blah, blah, blah. So then I'm like, okay, after this weekend, we're going to make a bet. If LSU wins, I'll come in, I'll wear some LSU gear and blah, blah, blah. But if Kentucky, I don't remember who they played after the game. I can't really backtrack that much. But I was like, if Kentucky wins, you got to come head to toe. Kentucky had everything. And they ended up, I don't remember who it was. It was like week 3 who they ended up beating somebody. And he came back to the training room and he was trying to like double back on the bed or whatever. And I was like, nah, F that. So I gave him the stuff. He went to the bathroom, came back out. I should have actually sent you a video. I got it recorded on my phone. He came back out and I made him stand like at the front of the room. And he just was like showing everybody his Kentucky gear and everything. It was amazing, bro.
That's awesome. Are you going to be able to make it back for a game anytime this year if you all got a bye week or anything?
I don't know because our bye week is toward the end of the season this year. But I was gonna try to get down there. I really want to come to that UK versus Louisville game, man, just to talk shit about Loserville over there that they got going on. L's down for life, bro. You already know it with that one. So I really wanted to try to get a chance to go to that one.
Do you guys have any Thursday night games or anything like that coming up? Because I know Benny played on Thursday, and I think he ended up coming to the game that Saturday.
I think we played Chicago on Thursday night. I'm not 100% sure, but if that is the case, then I'll most definitely try to make that one because I'm pretty sure that's the same weekend that after Chicago. I'm pretty sure they play Mississippi State that week. I'm not sure.
You're at Chicago on the 13th.
Yeah. So if that's the case, I might try to squeeze that one in there too.
I got you, man. Speaking of Chicago, I mean, looking at some of the things that they've been going through, I know you're not looking ahead or anything like that, but obviously you see guys making plays all over the league. They're struggling offensively. They got Justin Fields back there. When you're dealing with an athletic quarterback, like a Justin Fields or like a Lamar Jackson, who, we got to see firsthand in person in college, and I actually even told him, one of my funnier stories to get my ass juked out by Lamar Jackson in the fight game. That would have been. Was that your freshman year?
That sure was.
Yeah.
That sure was.
That's when Denzel picked up to that damn trash can. Mitch Barnhart was going to kill our ass.
I was about to say, we got chewed out that next Monday, bro. I remember that one.
Yeah, but man, what's it? So when you obviously, there's athletes spread across the board, from receivers to running backs, like we talked about with Derrick Henry, but an athletic quarterback that can actually run, in the NFL, what's the preparation like that for compared to, a guy who is a standard pocket pass quarterback?
I mean, even with a guy like Jalen Hurts, who we literally just faced not too long ago, it's one of those things where you got to make sure the D line is tuned in as well, because on the back end with coverage and whatnot, you're doing what you can to try to shut the coverage down. But I mean, what's going to be his first threat or option is going ahead and think, okay, let me take off running. So now it's more so if you trying to be exact in coverage, you try to make sure if you're gonna make a be right play where it's like, okay, I see he about to break the line of scrimmage, so I'm just drop my coverage and take off. You better make sure it's the right decision, because 9 times out of 10, that's gonna be more so dangerous than just sitting chunking the ball downfield as well. So I mean, with a lot of these running quarterbacks nowadays, you want to make sure the D line is in tune and making sure they just, when it comes to their rush game, they have a plan and knowing, like, for example, a guy like Jalen Hurts know where he plans to escape to and just plan to implement your rush around that.
Well, man, that's a guy that like you that has a plan, who had a vision of doing everything you're doing now, man. Like I said, I'm beyond proud of you, man. And, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to get on here with me and chop it up for a little bit. Like I said, I'm not going to keep you that too long, man. I know you got shit going on. You got to be able to get ready for this week, man. Good luck this week. Good luck the rest of the season. Love and miss you, dog. And if you ever come back down to Lexington, just hit me up and, we'll get into something. We might go bass fish or something this offseason, too.
Yeah, I was just about to say, man, we got to get out there and smack down on some more fish again. That's what sounds great to me.
Your boy Terry, he likes to bass fish a little bit.
Yeah. It's so crazy you said that. I was actually talking to him in the locker room about that. I was like, yeah, me and one of my former teammates, we used to go hit some fish every now and then when we got the chance to. And I told him, hopefully we can all get out on the lake one time and I can drag him on to Lexington. So hopefully we get the chance to.
Hey, he knows one of my dudes down in Florida that he goes fishing with. So we can go to Kentucky, we can go to Florida, have 2 boats, 3 boats. Shit, don't matter to me.
Yeah.
Always a good time with you, man. But thank you again for coming on, man. And good luck the rest of the season. If there's ever anything I can do for you around here in Lexington, man, or anything in general, you just let me know.
Yes, sir, bro. Thank you for having me. I'm always just a phone call away.
I know you got a long career ahead of you, only in your second year, but you're, just so you know, in case you haven't been told before, incredibly well-spoken and knowledgeable. You got a career in coaching or commentary or whatever comes for it after you're done playing. So it was a pleasure to talk with you, and we appreciate you.
Yes, sir, man. That sounds like millions of years away, hopefully. So
it is.
But appreciate you,
$100 million Tom Brady contract sounded pretty attractive for people to start moving direction after playing.
Hell yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Jamin, love you, my boy. We'll talk to you later, all right?
Yes, sir, bro. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. And another big thank you to Jamin. I know I said in the interview that was the first time I actually got to talk to him face-to-face ever before he got drafted, because when he was a senior, that's when COVID hit. And so obviously with all that fucking fiasco, nobody could go talk to anybody because everybody thought, everybody was going to die. But sorry, YouTube. Don't get us pulled for that. But anyways, always a great time talking with Jamin. Appreciate him coming on. Continue to have great guests for you guys coming on here. We enjoy talking with highly football-minded people, especially during football season. So we thank Jamin for his time taken out of his day from practice and film and God knows what else he has to be doing right now, preparing for Derrick Henry. That's a pretty tall task.
That's a tall task.
But as we shift over into college football, I kind of want to go ahead and make this statement here. I know that we lean toward more NFL news, and that's for a reason, because I think the NFL, don't get me wrong, I love college football. Yeah. I think college football is the backbone of this nation, to be honest with you. But
I'm not a doctor.
But not either. I'm not a philosopher either. But I will say that the NFL, the way it's ran, the overall talent that you see week in and week out is just next to nothing. And so there's more news, there's more things to talk about. And so if you guys are expecting us to talk about college football all the time, I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. So anyways,
talk about everything.
Fully unscripted.
That's true.
Semi-unscripted.
Somewhat unscripted.
We need to have a segment on your tattoos one day.
We can do that.
We'll break down tattoos.
Yeah,
We got to talk about. We got to talk. He's got a Marvel ode to the Marvel series.
I got a Marvel tattoo with a Deadpool.
and
That's dope,
Deadpool
dude.
3 coming out.
Are me and you naked?
Oh, the Wolverine's coming back too.
You don't have it.
Hugh Jackman's coming back.
Hugh Jackman's coming back.
I'm not trying to hijack this topic here. We're going to circle back, but I love the way that they dropped that. Of
course.
he was doing that. Have you seen that video?
Dropped what?
The Deadpool 3 that Wolverine was going to be in it.
Oh yeah.
He's like sitting on the couch.
He's like, he goes, "Hey, you want to be Deadpool?
Hey,
you want to be Wolverine?
You want to reprise your role as Wolverine? He's
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Whatever.
That's awesome.
Be a dope movie.
So good.
But one of my buddies, he actually has all of the Van Halen album covers like morphed into one.
Get
Has
a
full
punch
half
in
of
on
it,
that
so-
camera. Show them your leg.
Oh, I'm
pull
going
it
to
up. I wanna
stand
see
up.
it.
Yeah, stand
pull it
up. You
I
gotta
wanna see
stand up. Sorry about that.
Over in the comfy corner. That's your all's name, the comfy corner.
Look at each letter. It's
Comfy
got a
corner.
different face.
Yeah, it's got
Hulk.
Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man in the last that you know.
That's
Damn,
awesome.
that's dope.
He has a bunch of colored tattoos. All yours are black and white.
You might know who did it. You know John Vanderpool?
Oh yeah,
John Vanderpool did those.
really? Patrick did all mine.
It's awesome.
Hell yeah. See,
Who did yours, Pat?
I ain't got shit done.
Who did yours, Parker?
Nothing. I would be beat.
Oh, you get whooped?
Did you get,
Oh,
did you
bro,
get to talk to?
they're
If you come home with
Southern.
earrings, I'll buy them out. If you
See,
come home
but
with
my
tattoos,
dad,
I'll cut them
it's
off
so-
with a
it's
butter knife
so-
because that's what I got.
It makes me so mad because my dad has a huge scar on his arm because he had a girl in a Harley Davidson tattooed on his arm when he was 18, and then he got it removed. But this was when they did skin grafts, and so he had a skin graft done, and he went to a pool party later that night and got pushed in the pool, and so now it's just a huge scar, and he tells people he got bit by a tiger.
That's dope.
Wow. I had since we're on this topic, my dad had a friend, or I can't remember the exact parameters of the story, but basically he married his high school sweetheart. Her name was something long like Mackenzie, and he got it tattooed across his chest. And they got a divorce when he was like 40 years old, so he had it filled in with a black solid line, and underneath it he wrote, "You must be this tall to ride this ride."
No,
Really,
Really?
that's awesome.
that's dope.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
You're like, maybe I will get my next
I
girlfriend.
remember one time my dad, my dad is like notorious, kind of like your dad, for telling people bullshit stories like that.
And then they do it.
Yeah. So dad was carrying, so my Nana, love that woman, by the way. Literally one of the only women that's truly ever loved me.
Shout out, Grandma.
Shout out Nana. She would not buy Drano to put down the drains from upstairs. So she would have my dad carry a pot of boiling hot water up the stairs and pour it down the drain. Dad misses a step, pours all that fucking hot water all over his arm. So I'm talking just bubbling blisters fucking everywhere.
3rd-degree burn.
Yeah. So we go on a cruise, me, him, and my sister. We go on a cruise, I think like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks later. He's got that thing wrapped up. He's got to put ointment on it. Shit's like oozing out of the fucking wrap. He's had a couple of drinks, and we get on this elevator. And this woman goes, "Oh my God, what happened?" Calm, cool, collective, didn't even hesitate. Looks at her and goes, "It's a drug bust on the North Shore. I was the first guy through the door. Guy came through the closet." By the way, my dad's a fucking medical drug rep. Pharmaceutical drug rep.
Dude, our dads will get the same. My dad does the same thing. Like,
Really?
yeah.
So he
Dental.
said, "Yeah, drug bust from the North Shore." I'm like, "What the fuck's the North Shore?" I'm like, "North Shore what? Peaceful Lake?"
Their alter ego comes out.
And he goes, "Yeah." Guy came through the closet door. He said he literally shot him perfectly through the arm, in between the two arm bones here. And this woman's sitting there just going,
Eating
like,
it up. Just eating it up.
and she's just like, "Oh my God, you guys are so brave." I'm sitting there going, "Dad, that's fucked. Dude. That's basically stolen valor."
Did he end up by saying, "I'm no doctor," but
But he,
not a doctor.
but he ended. He actually.
went right
But the
through
thing
here.
about it was, at the end of it, he actually looked at it and goes, "Nah." He goes, "I'm just fucking. I poured boiling hot water on my arm." But as a kid, I'm sitting there looking like, "You did what? I saw it happen.
Yeah.
That's bullshit." Anyway, let's get down to some college football talk real quick before we wrap this show up, because I know we gotta get going here. Not going to talk about, as many games we talked about last week. Just talking about, like I said before the Jamin interview, we'll talk about the Georgia game. We'll talk about the Kentucky Ole Miss game. We'll preview South Carolina. So really the first thing I want to talk about is how Georgia literally survived against Missouri down there, 26-22. And when I was watching that game, at one point they were down 13-0 in the second quarter. And I'm sitting there thinking, what in the absolute hell is going on? Now, I know they came out kind of flat against Kent State. I know that they didn't have the game that they wanted to against an inferior opponent. But, you look across all of college football, and that's bound to happen. I mean, there's some teams that get beat by inferior opponents. I mean, looking at Appalachia State, what it did to Texas A&M this past year, so many other teams going down and beating, Power 5 conference teams like that. But when it's Georgia, and we saw the dominant performance that they had week 1 and week 2 against Oregon, and I can't remember who the next one was, South Carolina. I think they beat South Carolina like 37-7, something like that.
Yeah, remember at the halftime though, it was tied. South Carolina and Georgia was tied at like halftime.
But I'm telling you though, dude, it just seemed like
they start
Georgia
out sluggish.
Is just reloading. That's all it is.
They start out sluggish.
But they did come out pretty flat in that Missouri game. I know that Stetson Bennett ended up having a pretty good game. There was a couple turnovers that I know that Missouri didn't capitalize on. Being so close inside the red zone and ultimately leading to a field goal fest like you were talking about with the Giants game earlier or going over in England. Sorry, guys. I know I have a nasty habit here, but I had to have one. Sorry. I apologize to you guys. I know this is going to be great audio of you guys listening to me spit into this cup, so I deeply apologize for
this is just, the bang energy with the cap peeled out.
It's like
that's
it's
redneck.
genuine,
that's about as redneck
this
as
is
it
just
is.
so
Authentic.
Unscripted. It's authentic. That's what
There we
people
go.
want nowadays. Authentic.
But anyways, so coming out in that second half, obviously Georgia started getting a little bit of a roll, and I believe that both kickers for Georgia and Missouri went 4 for 4 that game.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read that right. But you also had, unfortunately, the star defensive lineman for Georgia, Jalen Carter, who left the game with a knee injury. We do not know what his status is for the rest of the year or this week. So T's and P's to Jalen Carter. Hope you get back soon, brother. But the question I have is, after watching that game, what does this mean for the rest of the SEC East, and what does this particularly mean for Kentucky? I mean, you got a Tennessee team who is red hot right now, still 4-0, coming off a bye week.
The QB rankings came out from this past week, and Hooker was the only one ahead of Levis going into this next week. So
Really?
they had Bryce Young at like 3rd or 4th.
I think for the Georgia game, past 2 weeks they've shown that they're vulnerable.
They
right?
are,
Like
and
their prime. If Kentucky's going to do it this year, I think is going to be the year.
Yeah.
But Tennessee, man, they're not going to be no walk in the park either.
No,
so
but the thing about it is too, if Kentucky even wants a chance of winning that game, our offensive line has got to improve. Let's go ahead and get to the Ole Miss game while we're talking about that, because that was one of the things that we sat here and we've talked about it off camera. We've talked about it throughout the week leading up. It just seemed like one of those situations to where we played our asses off. I'm not going to sit here and deny that we did not play hard. We played our asses off. That's expected no matter what the outcome is each and every time. That's going back to the standard of Kentucky football, like we've talked about plenty of times. Like, the standard is the standard, and the standard is that no matter what, you go out there and you play your ass off for 4 quarters, no matter what. But the thing about it was that we just kept shooting ourselves in the foot, man. I mean, we literally gave them 1,000 reasons to fucking win that game. And, people can sit here and say, oh, blame it on Will Levis, blame it on the special teams, blame it on the offensive line. I'm like, boys, it's a collective unit. It's a collective unit. I mean, there's not one guy can go out there and win and lose a game. I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen. Now, obviously, I know that when we got down in that crunch time situation where Will didn't see guys set, I mean, that's a play obviously you want back. Dane Key made a hell of a catch right there. And if he makes that catch and everybody's set and wins that game right there, that goes down as arguably one of the biggest catches in Kentucky football history.
Did he just get impatient? That's what it seems like to me. And
Yeah,
I know everybody wants to play armchair quarterback in this situation. We had 2 botched extra points, right? Botched field goal, a safety.
Yep.
And then that costly penalty at the end there. But for me, it's not like I'm not going to try to sit here and play armchair quarterback. I'm not going to try to put the blame on squarely on anybody's shoulders. But, we're talking about sports here. We're supposed to analyze it. So my question is, they're talking about him potentially being, Todd McShay's, they're talking potentially about him being the number 1 quarterback taken in the draft. He's, supposed to be way ahead mentally and everything else intellectually of the way that this game's played. Is it on him to wait to make sure that they're set?
I mean, if you're the quarterback, I mean that's your job, is to make sure that everybody's set, ready to roll. Making sure everybody's in the right positions. Make sure that when you look across the board, pre-snap everything's good to go. I mean, that's like when we were playing linebacker. I mean, like you look across the board.
You have your checklist.
Yeah, you look across the board, seeing if defensive linemen are in the correct gap, or if you're getting the right check call.
But let me piggyback that just slightly. So we saw in the Packers game, right? We heard Aaron Rodgers jump all over his center for not snapping the ball, right? Remember that? Mm-hmm. At the end of the game when he was trying to get it down? Where is that line? You know what I mean? Like if he snapped it half a second too early because the center thought, I got to get this snap off. Everybody's set. We got to spike the ball, and he snapped it too early. You have a fumbled snap.
Okay. Or I get what you're saying.
I don't think they were in a position like that.
I know. I'm asking, though. I'm asking.
There's a difference between the 3-time MVP and a potential first-round draft pick.
No, okay, hang on. I'm asking, though. It's Will's job to make sure that they're set.
I mean, absolutely. That's what comes with the position, obviously. But here's what I'm saying is that you can't pinpoint that game on that play.
No, I'm not.
I mean, the guy literally has his fucking finger bending halfway across his fucking hand.
I'm not in any way pointing
and comes
blame.
Back in and plays.
I'm trying to understand how that mistake doesn't happen in the future.
I mean, obviously, I just think, with the excitement of the game, you're two undefeated teams down there. It's a hostile environment in Oxford. You've had a couple things go wrong. You've had a couple things go right. You're struggling with your run game. So many different aspects go into that people don't really realize. And so I'm sure that, he just wanted to get the ball. I mean, because here's the thing too. If he's looking across the line, maybe he saw that they were checking out of something and then the defense was all fucked up.
While they were shifting.
Exactly. Kind of like going back to Aaron Rodgers. When Aaron Rodgers is the best in the league, I think the best of all time
free plays.
Of knowing of free plays. Whether it be getting 12 men on the field, whether it be an offsides, and I think he's the greatest back shoulder thrower of all time.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, too. But what I'm saying is that he might have saw something that, that we didn't. He might have seen that, the linebackers were confused about who they're covering, who the safeties are coming down to cover. There's so many different aspects, like I said, that we don't know about. But at the end of the day, like you're saying, it is his job to make sure that everybody's set.
I just want to reiterate, though, because, again, not pointing the blame. Like with basketball, I know schematically, I know whose responsibility something was. If somebody gets, blasted on a straight line drive to the rack and help defense comes over and draws a foul, most fans that don't know what they're looking at are going to point at that player and say, like, you X, Y, and Z, but really you can't give up a straight line drive, right? Like, so it's the guard, the defense on the guard putting that big man in a bad position to have to come over and try to help in a situation where he shouldn't be having to be relied on in that way sometimes, right? So I'm asking from a basketball or from a football schematics point, was it just because he wasn't patient enough? He got antsy.
Like I said, it could be that. It could be like I'm saying. Now, what I'm gonna go with, and this is just personal, I'm gonna go with that he saw something of wanting to get the ball off quick before they had time to realign, readjust. Yeah. Okay, I'll take, and it's not the same thing, but against Missouri my sophomore year, first time we ever ran a fake punt, that should have been a penalty. Like when we went back and watched the film, like I got the first down, everything was good, but 2 guys weren't set and the rest missed it. So it was my job to make sure that everybody's set coming out of that huddle. And so when you break that huddle, like our play design, and obviously it's not a fake punt situation, but in that play call, everybody gets in the position that they're supposed to go. When we break the huddle, they're sprinting to the line. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's an X receiver that's usually split out over there that's going to be now a tight end over here to the left. So they position themselves in the huddle. We break the snap. We get to the line. We run the play. As soon as you see the defense or the punt team, the punt return team, not knowing what the fuck's going on, that's when you snap it. And so I got too antsy and saw them scrambling around and not knowing who to cover. And then I snapped the ball. Luckily, it didn't get called back. Yeah. So, I mean, it could be something like that because it's something that I saw.
Yeah.
It was, like you said, it was death by 1,000 cuts. Yeah. I mean, you left 7 100%. Points on the field from a missed 39-yard field goal to getting a sack, which I think that is personally think the worst decision Will made that day was the sack in the end zone.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, because if he would have waited a quarter second on the snap for the touchdown to Dane Key that got called back, it was a quarter. I mean, literally a quarter second. For the sack in the end zone, he ran 7 yards back for that. So I think that was a worse mental error. But just for the day, I mean, Ole Miss, they saw our weaknesses. We knew what the weaknesses were. Mm-hmm. Offensive line.
I think we were distracted by the helmets.
It could have been. Dope helmets.
Real
Dope
Tree
helmets.
is 1-0 in college football. Mossy Oak, Sitka, you better step your shit up, boy. But
That was the second thing. Is it's like that's pretty much what he said. Is most time when you lose a game like that, there's one thing you can pinpoint. And it's usually like, oh, missed field goal or the little things too. But like in this game, it was like everything was magnified.
I don't know if you can do that for every game. I don't know
for a lot of games.
I mean, I think that no, because I've watched so much film going back in games that we've lost, and like there's been situations where a kicker missed a kick.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you can go back and go, okay, well he wouldn't have had to been in that position if we make that open field tackle and he doesn't get in the end zone.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to make that kick if our guard pulls around and steals a linebacker and we get X amount of yards to get a first down. There's so many little things that people don't see that goes on in those 11 different battles involved in that one war that determine the outcome of the game.
True.
That's why people literally say all the time, worry about your battle. Like everybody else is going to worry about their battle. You win your battle and then go help somebody else. So there's so many different little things out there. I mean, it could be a holding call that got called back.
Yeah.
It could be a missed targeting, which by definition, now I'm not going to say it's in my book was that targeting on the fumble.
Yeah. By definition.
By definition, though,
Yes.
that the NCAA has put out,
that and then
that's
like
targeting.
tripping up Barryon when he's returning it.
Speaking of Barryon,
you can't do that.
Second time in a row this
Dog.
week being co-freshman of the week, like you said, Parker.
Dog.
He's actually right now the number one return man in the nation. He's averaging, I think, 47.7 yards.
last
Devin
week-
Hester vibes.
And he's
Last
the
week,
only, I believe he's the only FBS player to have 2 returns, 80 yards plus.
When we were down last week, I was like praying for him to kick it, and our offense wasn't going. I was like, he's what's
Well,
getting
you're
us down
going to
the
have, I mean,
field.
right now, people's not going to kick to him.
Yeah.
Going forward, I mean, it's going to be either somebody who just can't get it there.
Literally, going back to Debo Samuel, we literally had a call when we would play South Carolina called Debo left or Debo right. There's two main returners back there for South Carolina special teams at that time. Whatever side Debo was on, we kicked it to the opposite guy. There was no way we were going to let Debo Samuel run up against us. No shot. But you also had, the defense, they were down a guy like in Jaquez Jones who made a hell of a play
Yeah, I was
getting that
about to
pick
say.
across the middle. Probably one of the more, athletic linebackers we've seen at the University of Kentucky in a long time.
Got hurt at his old school, which sucks.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, man, he went there and played a hell of a game. Now, he went out with a foot or an ankle injury. I can't remember exactly what it was. I can't remember if Coach Stoops said anything about his presser. I think he said, we'll see.
He said he's quote unquote banged up.
On his call-in show Monday, he said one of the callers asked him about it. He said that he's definitely doubtful for this week. They have to go through some more
They
tests.
said he's banged up and J.J. Weaver's probable or something like
Yeah,
that.
so that's
Josiah
the big, that's
Hayes
the big thing we got to have. That's one thing I noticed on the defense side of things is that I don't think we did a good enough job of holding the edge. There was a lot of times where guys got bounced outside where an edge setter should have been there and making sure that nothing gets outside of them. So having a guy like J.J. Weaver back not only helps setting the edge, but it also helps getting pressure on the quarterback because we did not have a single sack that game. Yeah. And if you want to rattle South Carolina this week, you've got to be able to get back to the quarterback and Spencer Rattler because we know
He's terrible.
Man, Parker, tell him how you feel.
That's one dude in the SEC I cannot stand.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They'll get to it because we know if he gets rattled, he's going to get, he's going to be yelling at his teammates. He's going to be, all off his game and different things like that. So for Kentucky to win this game this week coming up, they have got to be able to get back to the quarterback, and having a guy like J.J. Weaver definitely helps that. It definitely helps that cause. But one thing I actually want to talk about real quick. So you guys have been familiar with Paul Christ getting fired from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He is now the 5th FBS coach to get fired before week 6 of college football. You had Scott Frost get fired. You had Herm Edwards get fired. You had Georgia Tech's coach get fired. And I'm wanting to say Colorado State's head coach got fired. Head coach got fired. And so they asked Stoops about this happening this season. Here's what he said, quote unquote, I think social media presence that's real now is growing on some people. That I definitely think it's real. It takes its toll, and it takes its toll on decision makers. It takes its toll on people in leadership positions. It can, let's put it that way. He is not wrong. If Coach Stoops were to come in now, when he came in and had those seasons that he he would have been gone within the third season.
You're saying because everybody's opinion can be heard.
Because I'm saying at that time, social media wasn't that big.
But you're saying everybody's opinion about his performance.
Think about this. After the game like that, could you imagine how many pissed off, let's say, Nebraska fans are tweeting at the athletic director, are tweeting at the president of the university? And here's the thing. People can say that they don't see that and all that good stuff. They see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
or they're being told about it one way or the other. So that definitely takes its toll in making your decision making, because at the end of the day, the fans are the ones that are providing, funding for the university by showing up to these games, by buying merchandise, by doing all these great things for us. So at the end of the day, if you want to continue that program of success and having people come in and sell out stadiums, you got to make changes. But maybe some of them are justified, maybe some of them aren't. What I'm saying though is that I'm beyond glad that Mitch Barnhart and Eli Capilouto had the patience with Coach Stoops, because if they didn't, I think you're still the same old Kentucky from, when Joker Phillips was here. And obviously for everybody that was here for that or watched that, was probably one of the more rougher times in Kentucky football.
I saw some picture and it was like, I really appreciate losses like these. And it had a screenshot of Kentucky losing 40-0 to Vanderbilt.
Get beat by Vandy.
If you think back in the day, how fans showed their displeasure was they'd take ads out in the newspaper and stuff, right?
I feel like especially me being the youngest here, I feel like I've gotten to see it the best growing up, because I remember I grew up right around the street from the stadium, going there and still tailgating and stuff. But I always remember leaving at like halftime or the third quarter, because we were just always getting blown out, or it wasn't even close.
So the key here for opposing college football fans listening, take a little page from the Aaron Rodgers book. RELAX. Now, maybe not in the Scott Frost situation, but in other situations. I mean, you had Herm Edwards, coaches, going behind his back.
Yeah, you had him blackballed
to the athletic directors. Like, we got to get rid of this.
There has to be a documentary about that. Like, I want to see that.
Dude, Herm Edwards I love Herm Edwards.
He's a great coach, and so I want to know how these assistant coaches were leaking information.
I mean, any information nowadays gets leaked, seems like.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Except whatever's going on with the Boston Celtics, because I cannot find that out for the love of...
Well, when that comes out, then we'll talk about that.
Perplexed, but we'll talk about that another time.
I mean, even we were talking about last night how you think that if a nuke was to be fired.
Yeah.
Listen to this. So we're sitting there last night. This is great. This is definitely some bourbon talk.
Off topic.
Off topic. Then, I'll tell this story, then we'll break down South Carolina, keys to victory, and we'll get out of here, I promise. But, so we're sitting there last night watching the game, and we're talking about leaked information or whatever. And Todd said, he goes, I don't even think, they would not leak information if a nuke was fired at us by another country.
We'd never know.
He said, we'd never know. He said, we would die like that.
What? I'm like, we'd never know.
Bro, we'd find out so fast.
We'd never know.
What?
He says
never know.
He said that even if it went on social media, that people wouldn't believe it.
Like, have you seen, what is it? Don't
people
Look
believe
Up?
everything on the internet now. What the fuck are you talking about?
Have you seen Don't
I
Look
don't know.
Up?
Some people will see that shit and be like,
have you seen Don't Look Up?
No.
I've seen the movie Up.
Go watch Don't Look Up on
Great
Netflix.
movie.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about, though. Don't Look Up.
I haven't seen it.
All three of you go watch Don't Look Up on Netflix right now. It's
if
about
it makes me think
Right
like
now,
that.
right now?
No,
then
listen to
I'm
me.
cool.
It's about a meteor that's coming to Earth, and these scientists discover it, and they go on talk shows and they talk about it, and everybody's basically downplaying it, like it's not going to be the end of time, but it is. It is. And so what I'm saying is, I'm not saying if it was just somebody's launching an attack on us. I'm saying if there was a nuclear warhead, that we would never know,
I
because
feel
they
like
wouldn't
we would get the emergency text on our phone saying.
I'm saying if we could not stop it, then they would not elicit the pandemonium that it would cause.
The only reason why I agree with you, the only reason why I agree with you some there is because a nuke can get here so fast, you wouldn't even have time.
We'd never know. There'd be if there's nothing that the public could do to stay safe, we would never.
Which, if it was a nuke, there wouldn't be enough time.
There wouldn't be enough time.
No.
It would literally hit me right here, just land right on my forehead. Because
I hope I don't happen.
I'm saying there ain't no
Well, speaking of
a
nukes,
nuclear warhead.
Speaking of nukes, let's go ahead and talk about how Kentucky is planning on
I can't
dropping a
believe we
nuke on
just had
South
this
Carolina's head.
conversation in a public setting.
Why?
I just can't.
Fully unscripted. There you go, people.
Fully unscripted.
Well, anyways, let's go ahead and transition into the nuke that hopefully Will Levis drops bombs all over the South Carolina defense this coming week.
You're killing the transitions today.
Thank you, bro.
You're welcome.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
But we'll break down South Carolina, and then we'll get into keys of victory. So South Carolina coming off a 50-10 win against South Carolina State. They're 3-2 overall, 0-2 in the SEC. Entering this game, losing to both Arkansas and Georgia earlier in this season. But, I mean, that's two pretty damn good SEC teams, to face early on. I mean, you had, Georgia, who's undefeated, who's, they've survived the last couple games. But then you also have Arkansas, who actually did put up a pretty good fight against Alabama last week. But ultimately, Alabama has too many athletes, too much strength and size to not lose to a team like Arkansas. I'm not taking anything away from Arkansas. I think Sam Pittman's one of the greatest head coaches in all of college football. Everybody that I've talked to that's played for him at Georgia absolutely loves him. Everybody in Arkansas absolutely loves him. So, those are two pretty damn good SEC teams we have to face, first part of your season. But they put up 50 points plus against UNC Charlotte and South Carolina State, but they've only put up 37 in SEC play. For me, the keys to victory comes down to pretty simple. You got to protect Will Levis. There's
Offensive
no way
line struggling. Man.
Offensive line is Swiss cheese.
There is no way that you can have Will Levis go to the ground more than once this week. I think the goal should be for Will Levis to walk out of this game
clean
with the cleanest jersey. Well,
maybe all his fingers.
Let's put it this way. Will Levis is a dog, so he's going to go out and run and truck somebody and probably have a couple scars on his helmet. maybe a bleeding elbow, something like that.
Let's just try to keep his fingers where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, let's try to do that.
That's a good starting point.
But the good thing is it wasn't his throwing hand, though. So we're good on that.
No.
But it is the hand he fumbled with.
It is true. Very true. But like I said, again, after protecting Will Levis, we've got to rattle Spencer Rattler. Like, you've got to be able to get in his face. You've got to be able to have pressure all throughout the game whenever he drops back to pass. I think that, guys have got to be great in coverage of communicating pre-snap of who's got who. I think our DBs do a great job of that with our linebackers. I think DeAndre does a great job of communicating with the defensive line, physically moving guys over into gaps and making sure everybody's good to go pre-snap. So I think we have no worries there. Another key to victory is we got to get Chris Rodriguez going. I mean, we saw last week what he could do even with a struggling offensive line. I mean, the guy's falling forward at least for another 2 yards, no matter if he gets past the line of scrimmage or not. And then if you create him a hole,
gone.
If you give him an inch, he's going to take a mile. I mean, let's just put it
because
that
he's
way.
a
dog.
He's a tank, bro.
He is a tank.
I don't even know about.
All right, so go ahead, say it, and then I'll.
Last key to victory, we've got to create turnovers. That's the thing.
With this, just kind of piggybacking our conversation from earlier about the Niners last night, that pick six, like you were kind of sharing with me, and I mean, obviously I know this, but I'm going to preface it with that, sharing with me how much of a narrative that is in the locker room and the defensive
meeting rooms every week is turnovers.
Well, not just turnovers, but creating defensive points. Mm-hmm. You put points on the board on defense, especially a pick six like that. How deflating it is to an offense.
Oh, absolutely.
And so
that was one of the things that was reiterated, all week was that turnovers kill momentum, but when you take that bitch to the house, it kills them. Not going to say who it was from.
You could tell during the Florida game whenever Kedron got that pick six. Game.
And
I wonder what this is. This is a posed question for the audience. Maybe somebody can write us in a comment and answer. But I wonder what percentage of the time a go-ahead defensive touchdown results in a win.
Ooh, that's a good stat.
That is a good stat. That'd be good to know.
Well, I mean, that's the turnover margin. I mean, the turnover margin plays a big role in each and every game.
Yeah, but I'm saying specifically like that type of a gut punch. Closing out a game. I wonder what
kills you.
What statistically, I wonder what those turns into wins.
Unless you're down like 20.
No, I said go ahead. He said go ahead defensive touchdown.
Yeah.
Probably specifically in like.
But back to the Kentucky game this past week, usually our DBs, we're supposed to have some of the top DBs in the nation and safeties in the nation. Where were they this past week? I feel like I saw some DBs get cooked on.
Call them out.
I think because we play a zone coverage.
I'm going to put a fucking muzzle on Parker.
He's just down the rabbit hole with some of these, huh?
He don't get
Who is it? Call him out.
You already said it. You might as well.
Say it with your chest.
Well, I think what you're upset about, we play a zone coverage on most times. The reason why they got a lot of those deep passes is because, unfortunately, without J.J. Weaver and Wright, at the same time, you cannot get pressure. And so when you have time, zone coverage, you get to go find a hole and sit.
The rush complements the pass The pass complements the rush.
Like,
Or coverage. Coverage complements the rush.
Very philosophical.
Rush complements.
I think
coverage.
it goes back to what you said. There's 11 guys on the field, and there's 11 battles going on, right?
True.
And you might be calling out 2 guys that were playing the battle, but the 5 guys on the line lost theirs.
They didn't win
so
that battle.
No.
Which made you lose the war.
I was expecting like at least a pick. Like it was a
Well, there was a pick.
What?
Jones got one.
Yeah.
A big one.
did he?
Huge.
Yeah, Jacquez at the end of the second quarter. It was massive.
He's out for the year, right?
I didn't say.
No. I think we're just going to cut that whole part right there.
I thought he was out. Is it who? No, Cavasier's out for a while.
I have no idea on that. But how am I going to close this show out?
We need to circle back to Game of Thrones.
I was about to say, okay. This is how we'll close the show out here. Did you finally watch the episode
Watched
by yourself? You didn't want to watch it by yourself?
I have a watch group, that we typically watch.
Does
with.
that happen when you turn 30?
Yeah,
Or-
pretty much. That's a thing. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
cool.
basically like
What's
a
the
potluck
average
situation.
time that you show up at? Like,
No, he'll be on time for that bitch.
Yeah, I'm on time for that. But if we're starting, usually we'll watch the episode from the week prior before the 9 o'clock. I'm saying we'll watch the week prior episode and then the current
And then
episode.
you just go
Do you
and
have like your
rewind it.
cute little gabagool and
so like goblet of wine.
what's that board called? That's like got all the meats and cheeses on.
Oh,
it.
charcuterie.
Yeah, you have
Charcuterie.
those
Got
out with your
charcuterie.
wine,
Yeah, of course.
and you guys are sitting there like
Yeah,
gossiping.
and I got my
Is it
my
with,
goblet.
I know who it's.
so you just do it every 2 weeks then? So you just
No,
skip a week?
No, I'm saying the show airs at 9 p.m.
Right.
Eastern, right? So at like 7:30, we'll start the week prior and rewatch it.
Oh, so you rewatch. Okay.
So we have it on while we're eating and drinking wine, and then at 9, it's like, okay, focus.
I got you.
Anyways,
Y'all are all welcome to come, but
let's get down to it.
But I was unable to do it this week. Part of our group was traveling. Maria's been traveling, so I was solo dolo, and I started it, and I decided to wait. So I know a little bit because I got on social media, which kind of pisses me off. But I know about the.
So do I get to
Did you
break
watch
it?
it?
Do me and Zach get to break it down?
You can break it down. I know about the marriage, but I'm gonna
Pretty wild.
I'm gonna wait on
let's
the
put it
details
this
of
way.
it.
Everybody goes to Dragonstone for the death of Damon's wife.
Yep.
Got burned up by the dragon. And a lot of controversy breaks out because everybody's there together.
In that show, no way.
No, really, no. You could tell tensions are high between the families, and the youngest son of Alicent, he's always wanted a dragon.
Mhm.
So the girl that died was riding one of the biggest, fiercest dragons of all the kingdoms. or whatever.
Vagar.
Rhaegar. That was supposed to go to her daughter. He sneaks out one night and goes and claims it, says, "Hey, I'm yours now." Top shit. Gets up and rides it and all that shit. And so the kids see it when they come back in. He was basically just flaunting his shit, "Hey, this is my dragon now. You guys ain't doing shit about it."
That's awesome.
And so he ends up punching every single one of those kids. The 2 daughters and the 2 sons of Rhaenyra are there too. And Rhaenyra's son actually pulls a blade and cuts his eye from here to here and loses the eye. So obviously there's a big quarrel within the chambers, and all the families are there, and the king's going through everything. Alicent's sitting there. By God, she's wanting an eye for an eye. She goes, "I want one of her son's eye." And then Viserys is like, "No, that shit ain't happening. We're putting this shit to bed right now. We're all family. We're going to get along. That's great." End of story. She doesn't like that too
Does
much.
Viserys have all of his limbs except the one that's missing still?
Hair's getting a little thinner. Could definitely use some Bosley, but like I was saying, Alicent wasn't really too pleased with that. So you remember the knife that was in the second episode that he was that was in the fire, and he was reading to or whatever the fuck her name is on the blade. Alicent pulls that blade and charges fucking Rhaenyra with it, and take an eye from her, and she catches her, and they kind of have a conversation face to face right there, and then she swipes down and cuts Rhaenyra from here to here, and then basically shows her ass and all that stuff, and the king's upset or whatever, and everybody goes to bed, and then her dad who was the king's hand before, comes back and he's having a private conversation with her. She's like, "Oh, I've embarrassed myself, this, and that." And he was like, "Yeah, you did, but that was good shit. We need that out of you." So it's been a conspiracy this whole time for that dude to take over and not have Rhaenyra be the heir to the Iron Throne. So a lot of shit happened, like you said. Got to talk about how the marriage came to be. So Rhaenyra is married to that one dude. She knows that he doesn't swing on the same side of the fence as she does. Mm-hmm. And the only way...
Actually, she does swing on the same side. He does swing on the same side of the fence as her. That's kind of the problem.
Yeah,
But
anyways,
it's true.
So they know that they can't get married. Her and Damon can't get married until that guy dies. So Damon basically plots a fight between the husband's lover and him inside the King's Hall. And they see him fight, and then it cuts to the parents walking in.
Stages.
And seeing a body being burned, and they think it's him. Then it cuts to a different scene of the husband of Rhaenyra shaved his head and rowing out to a boat.
So it's his out. Nice.
Yeah, that was his out. And then they got married, and we'll see what happens. So, great episode, boys. Good job. So we've covered a lot of topics. We've covered Game of Thrones. We've covered the NFL. We've covered college football. We've covered just about anything and everything. Big shout out to Jamin Davis for coming on with us again. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week. This is Fully Unscripted. Later.